Hey there, MiniWarGamers. Welcome to a special edition of Focus Fury, where I have Tim Banky and myself covering the new release for Warmachine Reckoning. So through this review, we're actually going to be covering all of the new models that are being released, as well as a tier list for the Warcasters. There is a wonderful story in this book. We're not going to get into the lore very much, just because I don't want to have any spoilers for anybody who hasn't gotten a chance to read it yet. If you haven't got a chance to read it yet, but you do have the book, please take a chance to go through this book, this story. It is a wonderful story to read.
Yep.
Otherwise, let's get right into this with the
Try to stay pretty spoiler free. Obviously the focus is going to be on rules.
Yeah.
And I'm with Dave here because I know a little bit about rules. If you don't know me, I'm Tim. I have a podcast called Arcane Assist, so check that out. Facebook.com/Arcane Assist. I'm also a Private 2 Press judge, so I adjudicate all the big events, the World Team Championships, the Iron Gauntlet Finals, everything major in Warmachine I've judged at one point or another. And I am pretty okay at the game, as anyone who's seen my videos can attest.
Yeah. And he's a wonderful person, especially good at introducing himself on camera.
No, I just figured it's nice to have a bit of context.
Yeah,
and everybody
absolutely.
knows Quirk here, who is your MiniWarGaming favorite, I assume.
I am probably, the favorite.
Probably not.
In Warmachine, at least.
Matt's a big deal, in my experience. Dave's pretty cool, too. And my favorite's Steve.
Get out.
All right, so I guess...
we're going to go through the book. We are going to go through it in... I want to say chronological, but that's not really...
Left to right.
Left to right, yeah. Left to right. We're going to go through it in the way it's printed. Starting off with what appears to be the fan favorite.
I don't know, certainly a popular character in the fluff. Victoria Haley gets her third incarnation in this book. Major Prime, which is a special rank, only given to a few revolutionarily powerful arcanists in their generation.
Those who die and come back.
Spoilers.
I didn't spoil.
We said we were avoiding spoilers.
Okay, spoiler one.
Okay, little spoiler alert right there. So Haley is really cool. She's, I think, far and beyond the deepest and most technically complicated caster in this entire book, and she's had some really interesting rulings recently that I think we can talk a little bit about.
Yeah.
First, basics.
Yeah, right off the bat. Not to kind of ruin anything for people and not to give out too much information, but her stat line as a whole is pretty on par for Warcasters and on par with her previous incarnation.
It's the same stat line exactly as every other version of Haley has had, with the exception of she holds on to the +1 focus she got between her prime and her second version.
Yep.
So she's still focus 8. She still has a hand cannon, range 12, power 12. She still has Echo, her reach spear, which is power strength 12 and has set defense, just like in all of her previous versions. She's still defense 16. She's still armor 14. She's still mat 6 or at 5, speed 6. All of those things are totally unchanged.
She's rather low on warjack points. She's only got 3. Which
she's 3 warjack points, but we're going to find out in a second.
Yeah, I was going to say, which it makes sense.
Made up for.
Yeah.
So she's on the scale of like a Thagrush 2 or like a Makeda 3 or Old Witch, so which implies that she brought a little extra. And in this iteration, I think that's fair to say.
And for spells, she did keep her traditional and namesake of domination. Love the story of how she actually got that spell, and it's good to see that she still kept it in the 3rd edition.
Repudiate.
I can't even pronounce that.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Repudiate is the second example of upkeep removal in the entire faction of Signar.
And I absolutely love what this spell does.
It's how I always imagined upkeep removal would work.
Yeah.
It's a single target. It has a little bit of a backlash effect. It does D3 damage to the person who was upkeeping that spell. It also removes animi. It's range 10, and it has no damage effect. So you can remove Crippling Grasp from your own unit without killing a member of that unit. You can remove Arcane Shield from a rival Stormwall. You can remove Defender's Ward from Satrati and Fist of Halak. It's a big deal. Yeah. It's a really powerful spell.
It seems to be more of a defensive thing than offensive. It can be used offensively to hit whoever was holding the upkeep, but it seems to be really nice for just having a general thing to get rid of those negative upkeeps that you have on you, especially from...
You can certainly use it offensively too. I used it to strip Escort off of Fiora before going for an assassination run. Lowered her armor by 2, got a little bit of early damage in before the actual assassination run. She also has Tactical Supremacy, which is a spell that folks who played Iron Mother will know. It's also on Urusk too. A couple other casters in the game. It's a little bit like Reform in that it allows a unit/model to get a 3-inch move, but instead of being at the end of activation, which requires things like you not run or fail a charge, it's after everything has activated. So it doesn't, like, you can run and then still get a Tactical Supremacy move, which is really powerful.
And it's nice to have that just because you can throw it. It's pretty much like having refuge to throw on whatever you need at the time. So it does give you that extra versatility, which is really
one
nice
of the things
there.
that Khador does a fair bit is they'll take the Tactical Arcanist Corps, which are the nicknamed the Cloud Dwarves.
Yep.
And they'll put either Valachev on them or take them with Rask 2, who has Tactical Supremacy. And they'll get to activate, move up, lay down clouds, and then either Zephyr out of them or use Tactical Supremacy to walk out of them. And then you'll create a cloud wall without having any models in those clouds that can be shot off the board, which is powerful because your army is behind clouds, your enemy can't draw line of sight to them, then they're protected against shooting and being able to be targeted by charges.
So this would be something that would be really good for trenchers.
And Signar does it even better than Cloud Dwarves do, because they have a unit, which are a point a model, and you can take a minion to trenchers. Normally with trenchers, you can put them fairly close to each other, put the cloud an inch in front of them, and then screen all but the outside trenchers in the unit from each other with those clouds. With this version of the spell, you can make that cloud wall much wider. You can protect every single one of them, and you can have them deploy those clouds a little bit further forward than otherwise would be able to.
Which is always good.
And they're a unit with advanced deployment.
So it does give you that addition where trenchers now have even more efficiency on the board than they previously had.
It's a pretty compelling reason to take trenchers, which hasn't been in the competitive scene for a while.
No, and it's nice to see that.
I love trenchers. I've played trenchers in lots of armies, but it's nice to see them in a competitive list environment.
Temple
Flux. Oh. So this spell got a rules change very recently. If you're reading your book, it says while within 5 inches of a model in this unit, friendly models gain +2 defense, and enemy models suffer -2 defense. Temple Flux for the last round. Not an upkeep spell, costs 2 range self. If you're reading that, technically, you're not within 5 inches of yourself. Now, that might seem counterintuitive, but that's to prevent things like the Phoenix walks up and does combustion. It doesn't also do a POW 12 damage roll to itself, which would be a little weird. You know, do an AoE that causes everything to have a certain effect on them. You're not necessarily in that AoE. The exception to that rule are things like control area. You're always in your own control area. That's a rule in the book. And command range. You're always in your own command range. Templux got errated. It was the intent of the designers that the Haleys would always have the +2 defense from it. So now that spell reads, all the models in this unit and models within 5 inches of this unit get +2 defense if they're friendly, or -2 defense if they're enemy.
Okay.
And that's all her spells. Done. Next page.
Whoa, hold on. Hold on. I'm sorry. I've been, pawing at this one right here.
Yeah.
Both of these, actually. Do you want to read the top one?
Okay. So, reiteration. Reiteration says, this model can cast any spell cast by another model in this unit. This activation, if that's...
As if that spell...
As if that spell were its own. So that implies that there may be other members of this unit, which we'll get to in a moment. Do you want to talk about Time Walker, Quirk?
Time Walker. Okay. I'm just going to read what it says because I can't even explain it better than this. At any time during this unit's activation, this model can spend 2 focus points to add either Haley Past or Haley Future to this unit. Okay, I'm going to stop right there.
We're going to get to what Haley Past and Haley Future are all about in a moment. Pro tip, call them Baby Haley and Grandma Haley.
Yeah.
That's what the cool kids do.
Yep. I like Grandma Haley the best.
Baby Haley might be my favorite. She punches the world. We're going to get back to her punching the world in a second.
Past or Future in this unit. Not already in play. Place that model within 2 inches of Haley Prime. The placed model enters play with a number of focus points equal to its focus. The placed model cannot activate this turn. Next, when this model replenishes its focus, this model can receive 2 fewer focus points for Haley Past and or 2 fewer points for Haley Future. If this model does not receive 2 fewer points from another model in this unit, remove that model from play. Okay,
so a couple of things before we get into what the actual Past and Future Haley, and if you're looking at a copy of the book in front of you, you probably skipped ahead to see what these gals are all about. This is a very powerful effect, and it is even more powerful in practice than it looks on paper, which is something that we might come back to a couple of times in this book, because there's a few examples of that where you read it and you're like, that doesn't seem that good. It's that good.
Pay attention to this.
Very powerful. In effect, she creates 2 models that are focus 4 casters. Now, they're not casters. They function a lot like a junior warcaster. If anyone's familiar with that unit, which if you're listening to the Signar review right now, you probably are.
Yep.
They have the spellcaster role. They have the focus manipulation, which means they have the ability to use focus to boost, focus to increase their power field, like to give them extra armor while they're camping it, focus to allocate to models in battle groups, and because they're a unit, they all share the same battle group, which means they can allocate focus to any of the jacks that Haley as a unit is controlling, and they can cast spells, and they activate as a unit. That's really good. We're going to get to more of their defensive tech and some of their powers, but right now I'm telling you that you have the ability to choose not to replenish 4 focus to put 8 more focus onto the table, and that is really powerful. And it gets even more powerful. I think we're going to come back to the feat. I think we're going to talk about
well, the thing is, we need to talk about
this
baby
in
and grandma before the
This
feat
is a
makes
lot
sense.
to absorb, and she's a really powerful caster, and I've played quite a few games with her now, so I can say that. So far, the first impressions, without turning the page yet, is that she has some cool things that Signar hasn't had before, a really powerful effect, a very strange set of rules, and otherwise she looks like a Haley, but she doesn't have Haley 2's feat, and she doesn't have temporal barrier like Haley 1 does. So far I'm underwhelmed. We won't be by the time we're done. Okay, you do Haley Future, I'll do Haley Past.
Oh, fine.
Okay, so Haley Past is one of my favorites. She is punchy as all get out. So she has a Haley stat line. She's got that speed 6, strength 5, mat 6, rat 5.
It's on the page.
Defense 16, armor 14, command 8. She also has a melee attack, which is magical. It's a telekinetic strike, which fluff-wise is just her punching the air in front of her and it hitting you 12 feet away. So she has reach, and she's POW 10. So far, reach POW 10 doesn't excite me too much. She, like the other time projections, is incorporeal, which means she can't be damaged except by spells, feats, animi, magic attacks, or effects that are magical that are typed that way for whatever reason.
She also can go through any terrain or models with enough movement to get through it unaffected. So not slowed down by terrain, obstacles, or enemy models without magic weapons.
Which is respectable access to Pathfinder in the faction. She has a special rule called Raw Talent. And also, just to diverge for a second, one of my favorite sculpts in the entire range. She has this really fantastic come at me bro look on her face, fists flying out on the sides, like ready to just rock the world. And she is, in terms of her narrative, at a youthful, angry, I have a lot of power and I'm ready to show it off, but I haven't really figured out the sort of wisdom that comes with adulthood yet. She also has a special rule called Raw Talent. She gets an additional die on damage rolls. Period, end of sentence, damage rolls. So that means she is a POW 10 reach weapon master. It also means that her spells, both of which are damaging spells, are weapon master, which means in some cases she can get, we'll get to in a second, up to 5 dice. So she has Chain Blast. Chain Blast is cost 3, which means she can cast it with the 4 focus she normally has available to her. Range 10, AoE 3, POW 12, offensive. And then once you pick your initial point of origin, whether it misses and scatters or hits your target, you scatter an additional AoE 3, and everything under that AoE takes POW 6 blast damage. This spell, when you're dealing with 3 die POW 6s, kills way more stuff than it has any right to.
It has the ability to kill anything like armor 20 infantry.
So POW 6 damage rolls, period, like from playing Ron or anyone else who has Chain Blast, it kills like Nist Hunters really well, kills Gun Mages super well. This kills like 13, 14 troops really effectively. And you have a free focus floating around, so you can boost damage on something if you happen to scatter onto, I don't know, say like Gorman or something like that. Or directly hit Gorman. We'll get back to that in a second. Her other spell is Force Hammer. It's cost 4, so that uses up her entire stack most of the time. It's range 10, POW 12. It's worth noting that she's a focus 4 caster, so she also has a good chance of missing a lot of stuff. Although Temp Flux can help out with that too. And it does a slam. So regardless of base size, the model slam D6 inches. If they collide with something else, that model suffers collateral damage. It's all POW 12. So if she slams a small base into a small base, it hits the same size base, which means it takes an additional die. It takes an additional die from Raw Talent, and it is boostable, although normally you're out of focus. Again, we'll get back to that. Which with a boost would be 5 dice of damage, which is really good.
At ridiculously
POW 12, 5 dice. It's pretty good. Plus, of course, it being a slam knocks things down. So you can do cute things like run a relatively low defense model in front of the enemy caster out of melee range, move an arc node up, have her channel through that arc node a force hammer, hit the relatively low defense model, slam into the caster, knock the enemy caster down. Knockdown casters don't tend to survive for very long, so that's another cool element about it. She's really, really cool.
And everything about her gets even better on the feet turn,
which we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
Last thing I was going to point out, she has a lot of really powerful damaging spells, so she can go up the middle of the board and just wreck a bunch of face.
Yep.
She does not become corporeal unless she makes a melee or ranged attack. In her case, a melee attack, she has no gun. That means that she can walk up into the middle of your opponent's battlefield. She can force hammer a bunch of stuff. She can chain blast a bunch of stuff. And she does not become any more vulnerable than she would have been otherwise.
Yep.
Which is really cool.
It is very cool.
Tell us about Grandma Haley.
Grandma Haley. Oh, future Haley. Haley future. Again, she has the same thing as Baby Haley with Incorporeal when she's brought into the board, so she gets all the same benefits as before. Again, same stat line as everything else. You're looking at same strength, same speed, same mat. Instead of having a melee attack, though, she has a range 10, rate of fire 3, POW 13, phase bolt gun.
Mind bullets.
Mind bullets. Again, rocking all the same stats again. 4 focus, 5 boxes per damage, small base. One of the things that I really like about this phase bolt is that she has true sight.
Not only does she have true sight, she grants it to the unit.
Just getting to that.
So while she's in play, everyone gets it.
She gives it to everybody. So yeah, that's all kinds of awesome. Again, she's a time projection, so she follows the same thing that Baby Haley does, where she's summoned, can channel spells, so on and so forth.
It's a little bit like a junior warcaster, except she uses the same battle group, which is basically the exception.
And on top of that, her phase bolts are magical, so she is going to be able to shoot those incorporeal targets because they're mind bullets.
She has 2 spells that should never have happened in Signar. I say that these guys are supposed to break the mold a little bit, like but these are definitely spells that I think any Signar caster would have been a surprise to have received. I think is a fair evaluation.
First one is Ghost Walk. It's a cost 3, range 6, but she can arc it. And the target friendly model or unit gains Ghostly for a turn. And Ghostly means that they essentially get Pathfinder through everything.
Yep, they can walk through walls if they've got enough movement to clear it.
Walls, terrain, obstacles, and just so long as they have enough movement to get through whatever it is they're going through, they can pass through it. They can't go through enemy models.
They don't go through models at all. Yeah.
Like models at all, they can't.
The terrain of any kind they can walk through.
Which is awesome. So that gives Pathfinder, like Super Pathfinder, to everything in Signar. She also has Revive.
Oh, you missed the best part of Ghost Walk, is the ghostly models ignore free strikes.
Yes,
so your gun mages can now walk out of melee and then shoot things that ran to engage them.
I did miss that, my mistake. Yeah.
No worries.
And then she also has Revive.
Yes.
Oh, Revive.
A spell found on, let's see, Maylock, who's an undead caster in Gators. Found on the
Morvana.
Testament of Menoth. Morvano
she
doesn't have Revive. She has a couple of Revive-like spells, but it is that same fairly tilting experience where your opponent kills your models and then you put them right back on the table. With 1 box.
Yep.
Before those lances charge.
So, it's a cost 3. Range is pretty much anything in her control.
There's a couple of little restrictions. Has to be in formation for the unit. Has to be within 3 of another model.
Yep.
It's a lot more flexible than it looks.
But it's still very nice to have. She has a lot of really cool spells. I really like her. I like her gun. Unfortunately, unlike past Haley, if she does use her gun, she becomes corporeal.
Yep.
So if she does shoot at something, her offensive skill does make her a target. Spells wise, she seems to be a little bit more support and stand back and shoot more than get up the board and punch your opponent in the face with 4 dice, 5 dice damage like past Haley.
A couple like weird things with this unit. If you remove from play one of the Haley projections, the way that the Time Walker rule is written, you can still bring them back. If you use Jaga Jaga's feet to destroy them, they become minion undead models with Dark Shroud for a turn, which means you can, on your turn, while they're still in play, because Jaga Jaga's feet last for a round, place another future Haley. So I guess at that point you're getting out the proxy basis. There's some cute things like that. If they get issued a charge order, this changed today, so just a heads up, this rule may or may not be right, but at the time of recording, if you issue a run/charge order with the unit, if you cast spells with Haley Prime, she can charge. If you don't cast spells with her, she can run. If you cast spells with Haley Past, she can charge. If you don't cast spells with her, she can run. Haley Future, if she's in play, must run and does not get to cast spells under the conditions of that order. Models with a spellcaster advantage can't cast spells and run, and she's not a model that's permitted to do that otherwise. So that's the way that rule has been determined to work. There was a different version of that ruling floating around before that, but as of today, that's the correct rule. So that could always change. So I'm only right now.
I'm gonna stop you really quick because we're missing something.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention the feet.
We got to mention the feet.
Okay, this is a big deal.
So, Arcane Singularity. Models in this unit currently in this model's control area gain +2 focus for 1 turn and immediately gain 2 focus points.
So the immediately gain 2 focus points is because you replenish focus in the maintenance phase, and if you're feeding, it's during your activation, so you've already replenished focus. So basically, focus, the way Quirk said it there, is all caps, so it's focus stat.
Yep.
So like Haley Prime, she goes up to focus stat 10. She then gets 2 of her focus. Baby Haley, she goes up to focus stat 6. She gets 2 focus.
Yep.
And then Grandma
Rinse and repeat
Haley,
for Grandma Haley.
exactly.
Yep.
That means a bunch of things. It means you could chain blast twice in a turn. It means you could fully boost a force hammer with the little Haley. It means you could revive once with Grandma Haley, revive again with Grandma Haley, and then revive 3 more times.
2 more.
Well, if you don't upkeep.
Yep, fair enough.
Then and you pull from a squire, you have 9 focus and 6 focus. You can revive 5 times.
Yeah,
which is a lot of revive.
That's if you have a gun mage down or a gun mage unit down to 1 guy. That's bringing back that entire unit.
As long as the guy remaining isn't the officer. But yeah. Well, I actually that's not true because they're a 6-person unit. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Revive can't bring back non-trooper models. So like. If you put Murdoch on Ion and Holt, you can't revive either of them because they're not valid targets for that. But you sure can bring back Tempest Blazers. You sure can bring back Stormlances. You sure can bring back high-value Stormblade models. A lot of the stuff in Signar that is considered a little bit hard to deliver in the faction is totally an amazing target for revive.
So, and then just, again, icing on the cake with reiteration is that Haley does get access to all these spells again, so she can Chain Blast, she can Force Hammer, she can Ghost Walk, and
if
she can
the other
revive.
one casts,
as long as they're
they can have a squire attached to them, even though they're a unit. That's totally permitted. They're not replacing the attachment rule. Obviously, Haley herself is an officer, so she's the unit commander. They have to stay within her formation of 8 inches, but it's a very, very powerful bubble for the defense, buff and debuff. I've played them with Rangers a few times to make it like a kind of a 4-point rat swing for some stuff. They're really good. There's not a lot more that need to be said here.
No.
Put them on the table for a while. They are very, very complex. But I've engineered some amazing assassination runs with them. Just Rube Goldberging these really weird assassination vectors, and my opponent is just like, where did that even come from? If you can manage to somehow unjam Future Haley, that gun gets a lot of work done. I had Baby Haley, while black oiled, kill an entire unit of Mechanothralls just by punching them.
Gross.
They'll get work done. Yep. See, like, you have to think about her a little bit like a Mat 8 Powhatan Weapon Master, because under Temp Flux, everything within 5 inches of her suffers a -2 defense.
Which is going to apply to her punching, which is awesome.
Moving on for the time being, because that was 25 minutes on Haley, and as much as she's great,
we could talk for hours about Haley, but we have an entire book here.
Yeah. Dynamo.
Oh, Dynamo.
So Dynamo's Nemo's character Jack. He's got a special affinity with Nemo, which is that he can reroll missed attack rolls from weapons of damage type electricity,
which is his
gun.
Yep.
So he can reroll misses on a multi-fire gun, which is a big deal. If anyone's rolled double ones on like Harlan Versh, or triple ones on Harlan Versh, or double ones on like Dougal McNeil, his multi-fire rerolls are a big deal. This guy has really great synergies with all 3 Nemos.
Yep.
With Nemo 1, you can allocate him 5 focus, which really helps out with his chain reaction ability, that if he continues to hit the same model over and over, he gets extra damage against them. And that applies to his melee and to his ranged attack. So with multi-fire, he gets like +1, +2, +3, +4. With the Battle Spear, like obviously you get your first initial, and then you can buy up to 3 attacks. With Nemo 1, you can buy up to 5 extra attacks.
Yep.
And then Like with Nemo 2, access to Energizer, plus some of the amazing upkeep spells allows you to both deliver him a little bit better and also gives him more threat range. Nemo 3 is my favorite. He gives him Weapon Master on the feat turn on that gun. I watched him kill Ruin, Butcher's character Jack, after Ruin had a shield guard take one of those hits away, which is a big deal. He can be included in Nemo's theme lists.
I like the base to base, gives immunity to electricity.
Yep, that's really cool.
It's always nice. A lot of the stuff that's already in here you just covered there, where he does have set defense with his Battle Spear, gives him that little extra defense there, putting him up to a defense 14 from charges, slams, and power attacks. Along the lines, a pretty straightforward Jack. His stats have been out for a little while now, haven't they?
Yeah, he's been released for a bit. He's included in this sort of to complete that cycle.
Yeah.
He's immune to electricity, like a lot of
essentially
Jacks now.
Yeah.
I think we can move past Dynamo, but Dynamo's a sweet release. It's really amazing for Signar.
Ace.
Ace is cool.
Ace is awesome.
So first support Jack with a mini feat.
Yeah. Yeah. I like his affinity with Kane. I think that's all kinds of awesome.
So Ace is basically a hunter. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
He has hunter chassis stats like Rat 7, range 14, AD, speed 6. He doesn't
Pathfinder.
He doesn't have armor pierce like hunters do. He also doesn't have parry like some hunters do. And I guess he's not as good with the battle axe.
No.
Unlike most hunters, he has true sight and a magical weapon. So he can snipe out Haley projections. He can kill incorporeal models, which is a big deal. He can also kill Gorman. He can kill Iris.
He does have true sight, which is just
that's the ability to ignore stealth is a big deal, even in a faction like Signar, because your gun may just can't do everything.
No.
This guy can probably boost damage on Tartarus.
Yep.
You need to roll pretty hot to kill Tartarus, but I expect you can kill him over a couple of turns.
I'm pretty excited that even though he is a light jack, he's 7 points, which seems a little bit costly. But at the same time, he's got a range 14 gun.
Yep. And AD.
And AD. So
yeah, threat range 20 inches, which is pretty cool. Ravagors will tell you that that's a powerful ability.
Yeah. And then do you want to cover the affinity with Kane there? Because that's pretty big.
Yeah, this affinity is really good. So like based on the stats we already described, you think like maybe you put him as Siege, maybe you put him as Sloan. I think the affinity really puts him firmly in Kane's back pocket.
Yeah.
This applies obviously to Kane 1, Kane 2, and any future iterations of Kane. He can also be included in Kane's theme list. So I think this guy might go in like Sons of the Tempest, which is Kane 1's theme burst, which is really powerful. Basically he gets rune shots. So similar to like the Jack Marshall Thunder gun mages or gun mage shots themselves, except his 3 rune shots are Shadowfire, which you might remember from Terran Delaware VC.
I've lost so many times to that.
Shadowfire allows the model hit to be ignored for friendly models for the purposes of just clearing line of sight.
The wording for it is that the model hit does not block line of sight.
Sorry, it doesn't actually specify what type of models ignore anymore. Just simply the model does not block line of sight. So they're hiding behind a Colossal. You remove it with the ace, and then Kane walks up and just shoots you to death.
Yep.
Which, if anyone has played against Kane before, he sure can shoot you to death.
He does that very well.
He does indeed. Thunderbolt is crit knockdown, which is really good with Kane 1, who has Deadeye, so you can make it 3 dice to hit, 4 dice with a boost, increase that chance of a crit knockdown. Knockdown on a 14-inch gun is really powerful.
Yep, and again, if you don't get the crit, you still get to push that model D3 inches.
Just like the gun mage ability, D3 inches away.
Directly away, which is nice.
Pretty powerful. And then the last one is a little weird.
Trick Shot.
Trick Shot is a slightly watered down version of Magic Bullet. Now, any Signar players will remember that Magic Bullet is the POW 12 damage roll that hits something within 4 inches of the target that you hit.
Yep.
This is very similar to that. This is also unboostable. It also specifies a model within 4 inches of the model hit, except it's POW 10 instead of POW 12.
And you can choose the model that's hit.
Yeah, you choose the model that's hit with Magic Bullet as well.
I like that.
It is really powerful. If you shoot like a Signar Colossal and just bounce a shot into a Squire, even at dice -4, that's not a good thing to have happen repeatedly.
No. If you happen to manage to land a caster down to 2 or 3 boxes, that Trick Shot might be the shot that does it.
Shoot a Ravagor, kill its Shepherd. That's pretty powerful.
Yep.
It just automatically kills the Shepherd. You don't even need to roll dice.
No,
because Arm 11 does not deal with POW 10 very well. Killing your Beast Handlers by shooting like Bronzebacks.
Yep.
Bronzebacks are pretty easy to hit. Just snipe a Beast Handler every time you do for free. That's pretty nice. It's really good in a lot of situations.
Yep.
You can.
It's almost like giving the gun essentially a rate of fire 2 in the sense that since you get to pick the target with it, you might drop the POW down by 2 points, but you get to pick that other target that gets hit.
And it's auto hit.
Yeah.
Because like you can ignore really high defense. Say if you have like a unit of Mage Hunter Strike Force who are clustered around the character Jack Discordia, who's using the imprint to make them immune to blast damage.
Yep.
You shoot Discordia, who's armor a whole bunch, defense 12, but with a rat 7, you hit on a 5, and then just kill a Mage Hunter Strike Force member.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can go on forever about the different things that this guy can do, and just different...
Trick shot is really tricky. But the last thing to mention about Ace is obviously the special part.
Yeah. Well, rock, paper, scissors, who talks about that?
Oh, every time. Once per game, during its activation, this model can use Infiltrate. This model gains Stealth. While its controlling Warcaster is base to base with this model, the Warcaster also gains Stealth. Infiltrate lasts for 1 round. So this guy is going to help deliver Kane to your enemy army with Stealth, which obviously isn't applicable every time, but is applicable often enough that it scares the heck out of some people. Stealth casters are really powerful. Stealth 7-point Warjacks are really powerful. Why not both?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So I do like that. But again, we can go on forever about Ace and his
Ace is pretty cool, but let's get through the Signar section and on to another faction.
We have quite a bit of a book here.
We'll probably put a bookmark in the video that tells you, like, you skip to this place to get to Protectorate or whatever.
You're putting a lot of work for me into this video, too.
Okay, the Trench Buster. So Trench Buster is a 3-point Signar Trencher solo.
He's an Ogren.
Ogren, which is kind of cool. The Signar,
like that.
Signar has a bunch of ogres in their faction working for them. They do a lot of manual labor tasks. Some of them get conscripted. Trenchers are a light, like medium class infantry model, so probably this is actually like a volunteer force.
Yep.
At this point, actually, so long gunners used to be conscripted. They don't actually conscript anymore under Leto, but no spoilers. He's got a couple of really powerful abilities.
Yep. Right off the get-go, he comes with advanced deployment, just like
a lot of Trenchers have AD, yep.
He has Tough, just like a lot of Ogren have, so he's got both of those already in there.
It's a pretty decent package.
I like that he has Assault.
He has Assault. A lot of Trenchers have Assault. His gun's a little better than you might expect, so it's a way to sort of trick some extra range out of that weapon.
Yep.
He also has Girded, so models based to base with him don't suffer blast damage.
Yep.
So he can protect your Nist Hunters, he can protect your Gun Mages, he can sometimes protect your extra Trenchers, although most of them can dig in.
Yep.
He has Flank Trencher. This is the way this is worded right now. Technically, he flanks with himself. That is almost certainly not design intent.
No.
I guarantee this is getting an errata or a clarification of some kind if it has not already at the time of
Something
posting.
to say like flank friendly trencher.
Probably flank other Trencher.
Okay.
Something like that. The way Constance Blaze says about Morrowinds on the card.
Yeah.
Expect him to be able to be a Mat 9, POW 13, and POW 11 Weapon Master against things in the melee range of another Trencher model.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. Like as I'm pointing out here, he has respectable melee threat, good defensive stats. I think it's fair to say good. 13, 17 is a reasonable profile.
Yep.
8 boxes.
I very much like the Cinder Bomber.
Yeah. The gun he has is range 10, POW 14, AoE 3, but that AoE stays as a cloud.
It also has Arcing Fire.
Yeah, so you can ignore intervening models even if they're not dug in or don't have ranked attacks.
Yep. So that's always
He
good.
is a really cool release. 3 points is a tough slot to be in.
It is.
Means you're competing with like 2-point solos. I think he might be a hard sell, but I think he certainly has lists.
I'm actually looking forward to see how people play him.
Yeah.
That would be, I think that would
He's
be
one of those
interesting.
ones that, like, the Stormblade Captain in a previous release was one of those ones where you're like, here you go, Signar. Here's, like, a POW 13 Weapon Master with Reach. And they're like, what do we do with this? Like, our faction just doesn't get this kind of thing.
Yep.
This is a guy with good melee presence on the board who I think asks Signar players to kind of look at their releases a little bit differently, which I think makes him exciting, even if for nothing else.
Yep.
Let's move on. Let's just skip the Hurricane. Just kidding.
I was like, what? Whoa, no, get out. No.
Yeah, Hurricane
I'll do the review here.
is pretty sweet.
Hurricane is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. First thing right off the bat, he's an Arc Node.
It's true.
He is a huge Arc Node.
Yeah. So, Hurricane is the newest iteration of the same chassis as the Stormwall.
Yep.
So he looks a lot like the Stormwall, except has different profile in terms of stats and everything.
And story-wise, he got his Storm Pod launcher replaced with something that can pretty much emit a thunderstorm.
Seems pretty good.
Yeah, I can live with it. I can do it.
Now, Signar players, obviously, the Stormwall is really powerful, and it's tough space to compete for.
I know.
This guy offers some things that are really cool. He's still immune to electricity.
like most of Signar.
As Quirk is saying, well, not everything though. And
No.
being immune to electricity is weirdly relevant sometimes.
It is.
I played Stormbringers against a list that had a Storm on it the other day, and I just didn't have any armor cracking. You can't boost damage on the Storm Starters against Storm Walls. He has an arc node. He can't arc while engaged. That's a rule.
Yep.
And he doesn't have any exceptions to that, which a lot of people speculated maybe he might.
Nope.
But being just an arc node that is that much larger, your caster can stay control area distance away from the back of his base and get 5 extra inches of range outside of control area.
Yeah.
Which casters like Striker 1 are going to like, to be able to get Earthquakes out there. Haley 1 might like, to be able to cast Chain Blast from time to time.
Yep. I can see a lot of supporting spells being able to get that extra distance.
Well, and casters who are traditionally support casters who run Colossals well and like to hide behind them, getting a little bit of use out of their offensive spells too.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
And also hiding behind that Colossal now gives them not getting their line of sight blocked by this giant huge base in front of them, which is also good.
Where you used to have to shoot your own Colossal with Terran and or Ace.
So, first off, Turbulence. Enemy models, which I don't really think applies to Signar at this point.
Who knows?
Who knows? It could come out differently. Let me explain what it does.
Yep.
Models within 10 inches of this model lose flight for 1 round.
It's when they activate, but yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's really good.
Lore-wise, it's just that he's constantly emitting a storm and winds are swirling around him, so it's impossible to fly while within a certain range of him.
All of a sudden, your Angelia have to worry about rough terrain. Sometimes they do. Angelia threat 12 inches, so you could stay 11 inches away, charge 10, have reach, and like refuge back with Veil or whatever. But he definitely makes life harder for Legion players.
Yeah.
For some Crix players too.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, I really like just the overall. I can move this giant, huge base up. He's already got the 5-inch base to himself, and now it's another 10 inches around him.
Which is huge.
And you move that up into the threat range of an Angelius, and they're stuck.
Yeah. I mean, especially if they were hiding behind a wall to get cover. Legion players are used to just being able to charge over walls without any issues. Now all of a sudden you can't, and that's a problem. I mean, it's an issue.
Yeah, and with a lot of the circle flyers, like the Griffins and things like that, some of their threat comes from being able to go those crazy distances and doing those attacks.
Being able to charge for free with Kaya too, or to get like Hunter's Mark to get a free charge an extra distance. Like you're usually relying on being able to tuck behind walls and also charge over them.
Exactly.
Sometimes you can't against this bad boy.
And this can single-handedly shut down a assassination run from Aurora.
Yep, it can. She often walks for her assassination run, and then
I'm thinking more for the flank bonus from Angels.
Yeah, preventing the Angels from getting into flight, and then also preventing her from like hitting something and then flying over it. She has to now fly around it, which definitely reduces the distance she can move.
Exactly.
It has a lot of game, and that turbulence rule, while not probably something you're paying a lot of points for in the model, is definitely an incidentally huge bonus.
Yeah. So
talk about the guns.
Yeah,
Clark. These are pretty cool.
The Storm Emitter. It's a range 12, rate of fire 1, POW 16. It's got no AoE benefit to it. But it does have it where if a model is hit, they're pushed 6 inches directly away
D6.
from... D6, sorry. D6. Well, let me rephrase that, sorry. They are pushed D6 directly away. So it's almost like getting hit with a giant burst of air and just slamming them back. But they're not slammed, they're just pushed. So still, a range 12, POW 16 is really good for pushing things...
Out of zones,
off flags, off objectives.
Play a striker or a Kame with this and be able to snipe that shot. 16 inches, pushing D6 away.
Yeah, if you're not too worried about hitting in combat and that +4 isn't going to make that big of a difference, it's really nice for freeing up those models from those pesky solos and things like that are just gonna kill your unit. It's nice to have that.
POW 16 electrical type damage.
Yep.
Synergizes well with Nemo 3. Synergizes well with the Silverline Stormguard, who can put out that AoE that does extra electrical damage.
So I can already see a lot of the Signar casters getting a lot of synergy from this.
And you mentioned, no AoE on that shot. The Signar's not a faction that gets AoEs.
No.
Or are they?
He does have 2 of these on the left and right, so you do have to make sure you're facing at the right point for these shots. Still, I really like it. I can dig it. Do you want to say the next one?
Nah, you go ahead, man. No spoilers.
No spoilers. No spoilers. The next one is a cannon. It's ranged 14. Again, rate of fire 1. It's an AoE 4, and it's POW 13.
Yeah. Did we mention this whole thing is Rat 6?
No, we didn't.
Those guns are really good.
Yeah. I'm liking the range. just the Signar is known for having range and good shots.
And access to snipe and access to
This is very
buffs.
nice to see. Snipe on this would make it just a disgusting range.
And the ability to clear infantry without relying on, like, the Stormwall relies on covering fire to protect itself from infantry and deny space on the board. This thing is just going to kill it. It's pretty good.
And then again, you've got his its melee attacks, the Shock Fists, POW 20, same as the Stormwall, and again they do have Shock Fist as well. So
Cortex damage is new. That's
is it
this
new?
one
I
versus.
thought he had it before.
Stormwall does not have Cortex damage. This is the same ability that like the Lancer's shield has.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So it does, like, when it hits you, and it triggers on hit, not on damage. So it's kind of against Warjacks, like a cute little way to be POW 21.
Yep.
Because you do 1 damage,
Guaranteed.
then you resolve the POW 20, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
And a couple hits from this, and you'll cripple a Cortex.
Yep. So
A couple hits from this, you'll probably cripple a Jack. But yeah.
that was it. Yeah, definitely good to see that. 3 hits from this will usually stop any Warjack. Or not any Jack, but most, I'm going to say 80% of the Jacks out there. This will stop it.
Non-colossal Jacks for sure are going to be shut down by this bad boy.
Obviously, it does say Cortex damage, so this isn't going to work on your Convergence stuff. It's not going to work on War Beasts. It's not going to work on Monstrosities, which we'll get into.
Yeah, they have a
little
brain
later.
instead of Cortex. Or
So-
what are Monstrosities? They've never been in a book.
What are you talking about? But anyway, that is the Hurricane. Moving on.
So, do you want to do a quick unbalanced Signar?
No.
Nope. Okay.
No.
Moving on to Minoth.
Menoth.
Okay, so we got a caster.
Yeah, we do.
He's pretty good.
He's okay. I'd rate him like a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Since Owen's not here, we're just gonna skip all of them.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
Instant
not.
Durst, Rock of the Faith, Protector at Paladin Warcaster. This is something a lot of Predictor players have been asking for a long time.
Yeah.
Paladins are really cool.
Just before we even get into him, aesthetically, I like him.
He looks like a big rock.
For being the Rock of Faith, he looks like a giant metal.
Yeah, I've seen the model on the table. The recompense, the big flaming injected
thing.
torch lance
Lance,
weapon.
yeah.
It looks way better on the model than in the concept art, in my opinion.
Okay.
Although the fact that he's got this big battered and destroyed shield.
Oh, that's a shield. I thought that was the wall of a barn.
A little column A, little column B. I think it's fair to
That is a
say.
huge shield.
And it's just been wrecked.
Yeah.
And you can tell this guy's just not going anywhere, and he's going to fight until there's no fight left in the world.
So, stats-wise,
Tankiest caster in Manoth.
I'd believe it.
Like, Fiora is normally the retribution drop because she can take a Mage Under Strike Force assassination run. If she can take that, he can tank that. Like, 13-18 is his defensive profile, and he has defensive tech on top of that.
Yeah.
He is ready to rock, pun
Absolutely.
intended. Mat 8, speed 5, feels pretty paladin-y so far.
Yep. Recompense, Power Strength 15.
Reach, Weapon Master, Magical, Eruption of Ash. As a Thagrash 2 player, I can tell you Eruption of Ash is a really good spell. It's removed from play, literally on a stick.
Oh, wow, what?
It also creates a cloud effect, which you can bunker up behind. It does not specify enemies, so you can kill your own dudes to create that cloud bunker. And anything that enters it takes a Power 12 fire damage roll.
Always fun.
Yep.
That's disgusting.
So,
I'm still trying to get past the Power 15 Weapon Master.
yep.
That's gross.
That's pretty normal for paladins. You don't normally play 3 points for that.
Yeah, and then
don't
you just
always get that in your
it
caster
was
for free.
you take that and then add in the fact that he is a walking brick.
Yeah. He's 19 boxes.
Gross.
Like, he's got, like, Butcher level tankiness. And Butcher's 14-18 with 20 boxes. He's 13-18 with 19 boxes.
Yep.
But Butcher's also in a faction with just generally better statted casters in terms of defensive abilities.
He is a focus 6.
Yep.
So average, little lower than average for focus for warcasters.
Butcher comparisons are pretty
Yep.
reasonable. He's
Yep.
focus 6 and he can make use of it.
Yep.
You're also in a faction that has better access to focus support. Like, you've got Reclaimers, you've
got
got
Racks.
Racks,
Yep.
you've got Hierophant to make a spell cheaper. I would
A lot of the jacks have their own focus.
Yep, either
just
some
like the
way to
Avatar.
generate it, or like the Sanctifier can get souls. You can also just like choir buff a lot of jacks and have them run without needing a ton of support from the
Yep.
purpose.
Yep. Absolutely. On the topic of warjacks, he does come with +6 for warjack points. So there's a couple of jacks that you can just get for free by bringing him with
he's
a
a-
6-point comparison.
Yeah, pretty strong.
Yep.
Do you want to go through the spell list?
No, I want to go through the stances.
Yeah. So, the simpler ability is Retaliatory Strike.
Yep.
If you hit him,
He hits you back.
he hits you back. He can only make that once per turn. And I mean, like, if you hit him, and then he POW 15 Weapon Master RFPs you into a cloud effect that does POW 12 to anything that attacks after that. Like, you could charge him with a unit of Bane Thralls. He could take the first hit, wait till you attack with the middle guy, take that hit, kill the middle guy, kill the rest of the guys, create a cloud in front of him, protecting him.
It also puts a nice little threat for casters going through the assassination run.
Yeah, you probably, like, if you can't reliably tank a POW 15 Weapon Master to the face once, you probably shouldn't try to attack this guy.
No, and it's a nice little deterrent there.
It's a good chance that a war beast charging in on him, like, maybe loses an aspect, especially if it's something a little on the squishier side.
Yep.
So. Yep.
Then you've got the Rampart Guardian stance.
Yeah. So this is a little bit complicated. I'll kind of go over it quickly because I did judge a couple of players running Durst and Masters at Lock and Load.
Okay.
So like most stances, he has to forfeit move interaction. If he does, he gets an ability called Cornerstone. A model with Cornerstone cannot be knocked down, pushed, placed, made stationary, and friendly models base to base with a Cornerstone model cannot be knocked down, placed, pushed, or made stationary.
He is a rock.
Yeah. So you can still be thrown, which is worth noting. You won't be knocked down after that throw, but it will allow you to be kind of moved without needing to interact with those abilities.
Yeah. Place denies
like,
all telekinesis.
No TK.
Throws.
And like if he's base to base with like a Templar in the zone, Haley 2 is never going to remove that Templar.
Nope.
I mean, she's a caster that relies a lot on control elements like TK and domination and like those kind of effects to move those things out. She might be able to dominate it actually. But you could just put passage on it, then she won't. Anyway, the point is, you can't gun mage it out of the zone. You can't TK it out of the zone.
If you consider all the things that Menoth already has for spell denial, shots denial, things like that, and then incorporate this with it as well, he is a rock, and anything in base to base with him kind of shares that. And
there's more on that base to base theme. Probably do the spell list next.
Yeah, let's get into that. Right off the bat, he does have Boundless Charge, so...
Not an ability we think ever expected Menoth would get.
No.
Which is pretty cool.
It's nice that they open up that Pathfinder to them.
Yeah, Menoth has a lot of trouble with Pathfinder, especially battle group specific Pathfinder, like Errants help with the problem, and they've got the ponies, Flamebringers, and they'll take solos that get Pathfinder, like the Piper. Piper of Menoth, as he's been nicknamed.
Yeah. Basically what it does is if at any point in time a friendly model can charge without spending a focus or being forced, they get +2 to the movement, and they also gain Pathfinder when it charges.
And it's not an upkeep spell, so he can put it out on like 3 Warjacks. Or 4 Warjacks if he has a higher Fant than Rax.
Yep, so always good. Next up he has Cleansing Fire.
It's a nuke. 3 cost, range 8.
Yep, AoE 3.
Crit fire?
Yep, so continuous fire from a crit, which is nice.
Yeah.
Also has Deflection. It's a cost 2, range itself. It's AoE is his control area, and friendly faction warrior models gain +2 armor, and from all ranged attack and magic attack damage rolls.
So, like, it's worth noting that Deflection applies to only warriors.
Yep.
Durst himself is a warrior, so like against guns, he's armed 20 if he has Deflection up, plus whatever he happens to be camping. It protects your Errants, it protects your Temple Flame Guard, it protects your choir members from like rogue blast damage and chain blasts and those kind of things that can happen. It does specify friendly faction, so you don't get it if you take a whole bunch of steelheads or whatever, unless they have attendant priests. And also you don't get on your warjacks.
No. So when you consider him with the Hierophant, it means that it's only going to cost him 1, and he'll then be sitting at armor 25 with his focus camp.
Double oblit that, Vale.
He also has Hallowed Avenger.
So Hallowed Avenger is kind of a weird spell. I think this is actually a really powerful spell, and I've seen it on a couple of other casters where it's just been like pretty bad and hasn't been that exciting. I played against Durst in round 1 of Lock and Load Masters. I was playing Thagrash 2, and I was playing against Mike Prier, who's a really excellent Menoth player who's playing Durst for I think the first time. And I lost because of Hallowed Avenger. So let me tell the story. So Hallowed Avenger says when an enemy attack destroys or removes from play 1 or more friendly faction models within 5 inches of target Warjack, so it's an upkeep on that Warjack, in this model's battle group. After the attack is resolved, the affected Warjack can charge an enemy model, then Hallowed Avenger expires. Relevant details here. Anything within 5 dies that's a friendly faction model, and that Jack gets to charge something. Doesn't specify the model that killed it, doesn't specify anything like that. So I cleared the zone of the very last model with my Scythian, expecting him to charge his Hallowed Avenger Warjack into my Scythian and finish it with the remaining focus available. And instead he charged something that had already activated on the other side of the zone and just got just into the zone, failing his charge. He did that with the Fire of Salvation, not Fire of Salvation, Caressa's character Jack. The one that, look it up and correct me if I'm wrong. The one that also has like a sort of a vengeance move. It gets to move its speed and then make an attack against something.
Yep.
So kind of double dipped there because he automatically procced that from that ability and got like sort of a charge and then an extra move, which extended the threat range pretty powerfully. I think that was a really good combination, and it definitely prevented me from dominating the zone that turn, which didn't send me to 3 points. It sent me only to 1 point from destroying the objective, and totally changed the tempo of the game, which was really neat.
So yeah, Hallowed Avenger.
Not just for Virus anymore.
And lastly on his spell list, he does have Wall of Steel.
It's a spell.
Cost 2, range stealth, AoE is control, is an upkeep. And while in this model's control area and base to base with one or more models in this model's battle group, models in this battle group cannot be knocked down and gain +2 defense.
So if Durst is base to base with a Templar, they both get +2 defense. If your Reckoners are base to base, then they get +2 defense, which sends the Reckoner up to like effective death 14 against shooting because of its concealment from its little Ash ability.
Puts him up to defense 15.
Yep.
Which is nothing to slouch at.
Pretty legit.
So
really good package, really nice spells, offers a lot of things Menoth doesn't necessarily have a ton of access to already.
I think we need to cover the Bastion of Faith.
That feat.
So, feat is called Bastion of Faith, and while in Durst's control area, Warjacks in his battle group gain +5 armor. When a friendly faction warrior model in Durst's control area is directly hit by an attack during your opponent's turn, while base to base with a Warjack in Durst's battle group, you can choose to have the Warjack directly hit instead. The Warjack is automatically hit and suffers all damage and effects. Bastion of Faith lasts for 1 round.
So all of your Warjacks become tanks, and then they can block hits on anything touching them.
They basically get a base-to-base shield guard.
Except against melee attacks as well? Or magic attacks?
Yeah.
So you get a turn of... So there's a magic term called Time Walk. If anyone plays Magic, it's a spell that allows you to take an extra turn after this one. We use the term in competitive Warmachine Time Walk about some feats. This is a pretty good Time Walk.
Yeah.
You get to push a bunch of things up into your opponent's face and say, you can't kill these things or their friends. What are you going to do this turn? And your opponent spends the turn doing probably not very much at all. And that means after that, you get to take another turn. Which is, I think, a pretty powerful effect in Warmachine.
When you consider if you're throwing a bunch of Vigils out, the ones that have the 2 bucklers, they're now sitting at armor 26?
Yeah, even just the Templar, who is a Jack that struggles with having not Pathfinder and being speed 4 and having no way to buff that easily. Boundless Charge fixes those problems. And, needing a little bit of extra threat range to get up there. Hallowed Avenger addresses some of those issues. Being only defense 10, Wall of Steel addresses some of those issues. And then... being, once he's delivered, pretty effective, a chassis with 1019 and a shield, he goes to armor 21, and then into this feat, he's armor 26.
Yeah.
That tanks most anything. You stick your caster base to base with an armor 26 Jack and say, this guy's going to take all the hits for me.
Yep.
There's not very much in the game that can answer that.
No. And then again, after, if with this caster, if you do manage to take out that Jack, you now have to deal with this crazy high armor caster.
Yeah, you charge Durst under this feat with the Hurricane, and take those hits on your arm 26 Templar. I mean, that guy is dice -6. He probably had to charge to get into you. So he's got 2 dice -6 hits, followed by 2 bot dice -6 attacks.
Yep.
Like, he does not kill that Templar.
No. And then on top of that, you also have the... if he does happen to pull it off, you do have all of the recompense and all that stuff as more defense for him.
Yeah, Retaliatory Strike... triggers on when this model is hit by a melee attack made by an enemy model after the attack is resolved. So the interaction between Retaliatory Strike and the feat is you take the hit, you're considered to be hit, they resolve the attack against your Warjack, then you get to punch face.
Yeah.
So Durst still gets to retaliate even when you hit his ridiculously well-armored Reckoner, Templar, Vigilant, whatever it ends up being.
And that is just absolutely crazy.
So Durst, pretty legit.
Yeah.
You got some Jacks in this book too for Menoth.
Oh, we have more than just that for Menoth? Oh, look, there's more. Okay.
Oh. What's a little teaser? A little teaser there? Ooh, look! Ooh!
So, the Purifier.
Well, he's a light Jack.
He's a light Jack. 5 points.
Seems fair.
I can live with that. Immunity to fire, which makes sense considering what he does.
Yep.
Right off the bat, flame trail.
Yeah.
Okay.
When he advances base to base with an enemy model during his activation, the enemy model suffers continuous fire. The thing I'm thinking is, like, give this guy a focus, feat with a testament, he becomes incorporeal, and just run through their line. That might be too cute, but I don't know. I want to make the testament happen.
I feel like Epic Fiora has a new favorite.
Yeah, that's
the potential
good.
of a new favorite.
That's good. You can obviously light a bunch of stuff on fire, and she likes that.
For starters, just to kind of give that a little bit of understanding here, it is speed 5, so on a run it's going 10.
Yeah.
Still very nice when you're doing the incorporeal run through everybody.
Yep. You can probably get more movement out of that with overtake, though.
Yeah, I think so.
He has overtake.
He does have I was just about to get into that. He does have overtake. So if he does happen to destroy one or more enemy models with a normal attack, after the attack is resolved, he can immediately advance up 1 inch.
Yep.
So, and he does have 2 attacks. So you move up, you hit, kill, move up, hit, kill, lighting everything on fire on your way.
He has non-reach flails. So they're chain weapons. So ignore the shield and shield ball bonus.
Now they do also have chain attack combustion,
which is really cool because what's the combustion jack in Manoth? Sanctifier. Anyway, you have a jack that has combustion, but it's not tied to a weapon, which means you can walk and combust, but you can't charge and combust. This guy can charge with the immolators because the chain attack combustion is tied to the immolators.
Yep.
Hit with both attacks, and then boom, power 12 against everything.
And the immolators are the name of his weapons, just for reference there. But yeah.
Good point.
Also has chain weapons, so he's going to be ignoring all those shields and defensives from
No shield wall for
no
Iron Fang
bucklers. So.
And lighting everything on fire with the chain attack too.
Yep.
So if you do go into shield wall troopers and overtake through a couple of them with your chain attack and then blow up, you maybe do POW 12 against arm 20 and don't kill a few, but then they suffer that fire before they go back into shield wall, which is a good answer to that.
Yeah, always fun. All in all, seems pretty straightforward in that sense. Again, I'm looking forward to see how it plays out on the table. I'm looking forward to see how much stuff it can light on fire.
Pretty typical light jack, like speed 5, defense 13, arm 16. 16?
Yep.
Yeah, 16.
Yep, 16. So, next you have the Hand of Judgment. We have a character jack, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh, who's it for?
Oh, what do you know? It's for Fiora.
Oh, what a crazy random habit.
That's crazy. I didn't see that coming.
Immune to fire?
Of course.
Yep.
Fiora, immune to fire, that makes sense.
Yep.
Blazing Wrath. This model can charge without spending a focus or being forced if it is charging a model suffering the fire continuous effect.
That's pretty cool.
That is Fiora's favorite thing to do, is light people on fire.
Fact.
So this thing is pretty much charging whatever it wants.
Yeah. It also it has like it's a character jack, so it goes to like mat 7. I think it's still rat 5. It's rat 5.
It's rat 5.
And then it's a heavy jack, so it's the 1019 chassis, speed 5, so same as a Reckoner.
Yep.
But instead of having a Reckoner gun, it has an immolator cannon, which is spray 8, rate of fire 1, POW 14.
Ugh. And with a rat of 5, it's no slouch.
Yeah. It's reach. Yeah, it's reach.
It does have reach.
With critical fire on its melee attack, which is POW strength 18, so it goes to POW strength 20 with choir, 22 with ignite if you're playing Fiora 2.
But you're missing something right there, Tim.
Flame burst. What is
Flame
this?
burst. When this model boxes an enemy model with this weapon, enemy models within 1 inch of the boxed model suffer the fire continuous effect. It's like he wants to light people on fire.
And then he can charge them for free later.
Oh my goodness.
Although if they're within an inch of the thing he killed with a melee attack, they probably isn't going to charge them again.
Oh, we also forgot something really cool here. Fuel
Two
for
really
the
cool
flames.
things.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
fuel for the flames just makes me happy here.
It is, yeah.
When a model suffers a fire damage roll, well within 5 inches of this model, add +2 to the roll.
So that's like obviously the immolator cannon is fire typed. So would like the shots from anything that like does fire damage. Fiora's flamethrowers that she personally has.
Bonded Judicator.
Bonded.
Or
I think they become type fire. They cause continuous fire. Either one. Some effects cause continuous fire that don't have fire type associated with them.
Yep.
But then obviously
You
the
have-
actual fire continuous damage rolls are fire typed as well.
So now you're going from a POW 12 roll to a POW 14 roll on the continuous effect.
For a brief moment, there was some ambiguity as to whether or not continuous fire
No, there
rolls are
wasn't.
fire typed.
I don't acknowledge that ever happened.
The clarification is that it has been ruled that fire is fire.
Fire is
So-
fire. That's okay. Keep those comments to myself.
Yep.
Of course, with this being a character jack with an affinity for her, she can be included, or it can be included in all of her theme
Yeah, it has
lists.
the special issue rule.
So-
And then it has actual affinity.
It does.
Yep.
Well, in Fiora's control area, this model gains boosted ranged attack rolls.
On a spray.
That's Rat 5.
Rat 5 sprays with boosted attack rolls. I think you meant Rat 7. Choir.
Oh, no, I'm just going from the base here. Listen, just keeping everything else out of it
So
for right now.
boosted attack rolls, assuming choir buff on Rat 7, it goes to POW 16. If you happen to be within 5 inches of it while it's spraying you with spray 8, that's POW 18 on a gun, because the gun is fire typed. So a little of the old POW 18 damage roll on a boosted to hit spray. That's with no focus allocated.
No.
It can still boost damage.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that the Hand of Judgment is a pretty reasonable include. 10 points. 10 points.
Pretty
Feels
pricey.
like 10 points.
I would say pretty pricey, but that it makes sense when you consider what it gets.
Let's go on to John the Revelator here.
Ooh.
What I felt when I was looking at Protector as a faction is that they needed a really good
Adjudicator?
Another really good Colossal.
They needed another
To go
Adjudicator,
right there.
but it needs to be different from Adjudicator.
Could it be different in some way that specifically addresses the problems that the faction runs into occasionally with like powerful solos like Gorman or Iris that might otherwise influence their Jack Heavy playing?
Yes.
Could it have some kind of rule that ignored, say,
Stealth? How can I hit something that I can't see? Well, turns out that fire emits light. Light from a distance can be seen. You would say it would radiate?
whoa?
Okay. Are you gonna go into this one? I feel like you seem very excited for this.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, you can.
All right, let's talk a little bit. So still speed 4, just
Yep.
like Adjudicator. So
That's absolutely
not fast unless you have Escort.
Nope.
Mat 6, Rat 5, Defense 8, Arm 19. So that stat line is totally familiar to everybody. It has a special rule called Ferritory, which says that it ignores concealment, camouflage, and stealth. Additionally, its weapons get magical. So that includes its melee and its ranged attacks, which helps it with incorporeal problems. A lot of the issues like wanting to kill black banes or wanting to kill a lot of the other things. It loses those if it has its superstructure destroyed.
Yep.
So like the Adjudicator got a free focus, this one doesn't get a free focus. Instead, it gets a really super cool ability that addresses some of the
It
problems.
gets night vision.
Yeah. Night vision and ghost vision. It's got some spectrometers there.
There's nothing I can't see.
It has 2 types of guns, of which it has a pair of each. They're tied to the systems, so there's 2 on the left side, 2 on the right side.
Yep.
The Lightbringer I'm going to do first. Lightbringer is range 14, POW 12, rate of fire 1, and it has a special rule called Radiance. It says a model hit by this weapon loses camouflage and stealth for 1 round. This weapon is fire damage typed, so you can shoot Gorman and illuminate him, but you can't damage him. You sure can shoot Iris, you sure can shoot lots of other things.
The thing is, a good chance that the things you're shooting at right now, like, that is stealth, that you're seeing and hitting, they're probably going to die from this shot, so...
Models with Shadow Pack, like Warbeasts
Yep.
in a battle group are good. Shooting, I don't know, like Ace.
Yeah, but the thing is, it doesn't apply to the unit. It is for a model
Yeah,
hit.
no, for sure. So, like, it'll hit specifically those models. It does let you do some cute things. Like, you can shoot, like, a model that is stealth and maybe tough. If it passes the tough check, it's illuminated, so now maybe you can debuff that unit with something else.
Yep.
Now, the Conflagrator is the really
Say that
good
one
guy.
again?
Conflagrator?
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 I don't know.
If I mispronounce this, tell me in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
Range 10.
We can
so
read good.
pretty tight range.
Yep.
POW 15, AoE 4.
Yes.
So that's big.
Yep. Nice.
Not inaccurate.
Also,
So
nice
it's a
to
big
see.
deal versus the Adjudicator, who has inaccurate on that gun. So presumably it's going to be Rat 7 a lot of the time. And then Burning Earth. This rule is absurdly powerful. On a direct hit against an enemy model, this attack's AoE remains in play for 1 round. So AoE 4. Models entering or ending their activation in the AoE suffer a POW 12 fire damage roll and the fire continuous effect. That is a great infantry deterrent clear.
Yep.
It requires it to be directed against an enemy model, so no like running a Temple Flame Guard model up to create a patch that your enemy can't enter. You have to kind of genuinely get this. But if your opponent plays a pretty typical approach game where they send out a tar pit followed by some heavy hitters behind it, you really restrict the amount of infantry movement that get up the board.
Yep. And I can see this working really well against a lot of infantry tier lists, like you've got the Axis tier as an example. This is a great way to deter those advanced deploying infantry models just by hitting 1 and dropping that AoE that now if they enter it, they're probably going to die.
You force them to spread out pretty wide, you deny some charge angles. With the Vassal, you have to imagine that it could lay down up to 3 of these, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's a really powerful Colossal. I think he does something very different from what we've seen in the Menoth Colossal suite so far.
Yeah.
And I think, powerful Jackcasters are going to want to play something like this.
Absolutely, and I'm really liking the fact that if you consider the Choir with it as well, there's a good chance it's going to hit its target.
19 points, FA2, all of that seems totally fair and balanced.
Yep, absolutely. And again, it does have 2 fists at Power Strength 20, so...
There's actually another sweet Menoth release in this book, and it was kind of a ninja release.
No, there's not. You shush you. We're just going to ignore this guy altogether.
Do you want to talk about Fyrus?
Oh, Fyrus.
Fyrus, Flame Guard hero.
You make me want to play Menoth.
He's really cool.
He's so cool.
If it wasn't under copyright, I'd show you this art, but it's really cool. Buy the book.
Oh, man. Okay. Give her.
No, this is you, man. You got to tell us about Fyrus.
Okay, Fyrus. Speed 6, strength and mat of 7 with a rat of 4. Doesn't really matter because he's not shooting anything anyways. Defense 15 and armor 15.
Pretty okay defensive line for a caster.
Yeah.
He's a solo.
Oh what? He is. He is a character, 5 damage boxes, point cost of 3.
So he's got to pull his weight. We talked before when we were talking about the Trench Buster. The 3-point solos have some work to do to prove themselves.
Yep. I don't think he's going to need to prove himself too much.
How does he prove himself, Quirk?
Well, for starters, he is a commander, he's fearless, and he's tough. He's tough. Well, he's got tough.
Nice.
There we go.
I'm already in.
I'm sold. He has impenetrable shield. Well, this model is in base to base with 1 or more friendly Temple Flame Guard models. It does not suffer damage from non-magical melee or ranged attacks.
Cool.
I'm just gonna park on this objective or this zone here, and okay, thanks, bye.
Hang out with my buddies, the Temple Flame Guard.
Yep.
If you happen to kill one of them, I'll just murder it with Harbinger. Mm-hmm. Like you do.
Yeah. He does have leadership for Temple Flame Guard, so while activating in his control area, they do gain Relentless Charge.
Command
9.
Yeah.
He also has Rapid Strike, so he gets to make an additional melee attack each combat action.
That's different from Backswing. Backswing's a star action. Mm-hmm. So, he can attack with both of his melee weapons and still make an extra combat action with one of them, which is really cool.
He has 2 melee weapons, but he's got a sword and a shield.
Oh, Weapon Master Shield. What?
He does have Relentless Charge, so there's more Pathfinder now available to Menoth, which is good to see. Also, when engaging an enemy model, this model gains +2 armor.
Unyielding. I felt like that 15-15 stat line needed some help after being immune to damage.
Yeah. I can't take damage, but if you do engage me, I go up to 17. His Flame Spear is reach. It does have Weapon Master and set defense, because he needed more.
Heal 17-17 immune to non-magical damage. Let's do this, kids.
And he also now has a Weapon Master shield.
With beatback.
With beatback. I was getting to that, but thank you for jumping the gun on me here.
No worries.
With beatback. So his Flame Spear is Power Strength 12. His shield is Power Strength 8. He does have beatback, so that means that after resolving an attack, he can push the model he hit back 1 inch and then follow up 1 inch. It's not directly towards, so he can shimmy a little bit with that 1 inch, which is nice to see. Yep. It also means that, say, he didn't quite make it into base to base, or who knows, you killed one of his Flame Guard units.
Yep.
He now has that beat back to hit you and then move back into that base to base.
Snuggle back into formation.
Mm-hmm, which is always nice to see. All in all, I like him. I want one. I want like 4.
We haven't seen a model release for this guy yet, but based on the concept art, I have to imagine he's going to have a badass looking model.
I definitely agree, and now I have to edit this video.
He's going to have a really cool looking model.
Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, so that does it for Menoth. All in all, how do you feel about Menoth?
Oh, we didn't do that for Signar.
No, I feel like doing it for Menoth, though. We don't need to do it for Signar. We're going to come back to that.
Fair enough. I feel pretty good about Menoth.
Yeah?
Menoth's exciting.
I like it. I like the fact that
it's a good time to be Menoth. They've been on a little bit of a downswing. Mm-hmm. I feel like Menoth players have been mopey. If you know Owen, Menoth players have been mopey. We won't slam Owen too much. He's a sweet guy and we all love him.
Shots fired, everybody.
But it's easy to feel a little bit discouraged when your faction has some real puzzles that it has trouble solving.
Yeah.
And I think that Menoth had some real puzzles, and this book offers a lot of solutions to those.
Absolutely. And just opening up all that Pathfinder everywhere is just really nice to see.
Access to some kind of really powerful answers that maybe ask you to play your faction a little bit differently and bust open the box a bit, which I think is a good thing for the game.
And just in case you're wondering why we didn't do a coverage for Signar, it was because we spent 25 minutes talking about the caster.
She's really good.
She is really good.
So let's have a caster here that we don't spend 25 minutes talking about.
Okay.
Thanks, Abovnik.
Oh. We're going to talk about her for
Abovnik, Commander Zerkova, and Reaver Guard.
Thank you for saying that, because I can't pronounce it.
So, Zerkova 2, this is the second iteration of Zerkova, got a promotion to the rank of Abovnik. The Abovnik are a class of sort of relic hunter, treasure hunter, magicians. They make the cortexes, they recover the fellblades, they deal with the Orgoth relics.
That means she does magic stuff.
Yeah, she does magic stuff.
Oh boy.
Oh, does she ever? She does a little bit of forbidden magic stuff, so she's pretty cool.
Yep.
Let's whirl through her pretty quickly here.
Before we get into that, I do want to say again, for concept art, get the book. This is a gorgeous picture.
This is possibly the best art in the book, so... Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm going to do her unit in a blur. She is a person who comes with 2 Doom Reavers. Versus regular Doom Reavers, these guys lost Spell Ward and gained Sacred Ward, which means they can be targeted by friendly spells but not enemy spells. Zerkova can also be targeted by friendly spells but not enemy spells, so that's a really powerful ability.
Essentially, these are Doom Reavers on steroids.
Yeah, they lost a strength, or pardon me, a POW. They kept the same strength but have 1 less POW. But they're still magic weapon, still reach, still weapon master. They have berserk.
Yep.
But they also have silence, so they can choose not to berserk.
Yep.
And they have counter charge, which is really cool. You have to be careful that you stay within her command range of 9. But as long as you're smart about it and they stay within about 3 inches of her, they can charge out 9 inches or charge within 6 inches, and then do some serious damage.
And again, they do have a Abomination, which is always a nice little icing on the cake there.
Yeah, and as a Warcaster, she's fearless, and they're also considered to be fearless because they're part of a Warcaster unit.
Yep.
She has the same defensive stats that Zerkova had in her Prime version, so 15 defense, 15 armor. She's still Mat 6 or at 5, but she lost a gun. She has Speed 6, and so are the Doom Reavers.
Yep.
She counts as a Greylord unit, and they count as a Doom Reaver unit. Yep. So they both count as both things.
Which is nice to see.
Basically treat her as a Khador Epic Warcaster Doom Reaver Greylord unit.
That's a mouthful.
That's why they probably put it on the card.
Oh, okay, good.
She also has Self-Sacrifice, which is the same ability the Arryns have. So if you kill her, she can have a Doom Reaver die and heal a point.
Yep.
Which obviously healing effects stop, but it's all powerful. Her magic weapon is Blessed. She has an Orgoth Blade. If she's using that, you're probably in some trouble.
Probably.
Spell list.
Yes. Wait. Let's just really quickly cover. She has Focus 7, which is pretty...
she's Focus 7.
Warjack points of 4.
Pretty good, given she brought 2 heavy hitters with her.
That's fair.
Yep.
So.
And then she's like 16 damage boxes, so I think that's the same as the Prime version. She might have gained a box.
And if there's no healing negation, it's essentially 18.
Yeah, and these guys each have 5 boxes. So.
Yeah, so
they're 13, 15. They got a little bit of an armor buff over regular Doom Reavers. Shoulder pads for the win. It's typical Khador style.
Those masks. Again, get the book, check those pictures out.
Yeah.
Okay, spell list.
So I'm gonna go top to bottom.
Okay.
Banishing Ward. She doesn't need to cast this on herself anymore. She had that in her Prime version. She doesn't need to cast it on herself because she has Sacred Ward, so she can't be targeted by spells. But she can still protect the unit from being targeted by spells, which is really powerful. She can also use it to remove things like Crippling Grasp, Pursuit, Parasite, a lot of the scary things that Crix will put out, and then kind of leave for a couple of turns.
It's nice to see that she still left that door open, or even in Khador as a whole, has that door open to negating and canceling out those spells, which is nice to see.
Which she's kind of, this is going to be a little bit of her specialty. She has Dissolution Bolt, which is something that Lucant has. It's the only other instance I can think of it. It basically is her 2-cost nuke, range 8, power 12. You could do worse. It is a special rule that models hit by it cannot channel for a round.
Nice way to shut down those arc nodes.
Well, it's bigger than that because if you hit a caster, they can't channel through anything because channeling is both. Like it means the act of putting something through a conduit and also being the conduit for something.
Okay.
So if you hit Thorn can't channel or can't be channeled through. If you hit a Gallows Grove, it can't be channeled through. Also, it probably died. If you hit a caster, that caster can't channel through anything. Now you're thinking to yourself, you're Khador, you don't have arc nodes. How did you hit their caster? We'll get to that. Hoarfrost. Veil 1 players will recognize this spell. It has crit stationary. It's range 8, POW 14, cold damage. AoE 3, cost 3. Obviously offensive. And then on a critical hit, models in the AoE become stationary for 1 round unless they have immunity to cold. Which is really cool. You can, like, if they are base to base with like a girded model or a Warjack or something like that, you can shoot the Jack, hit fairly easily, boost the hit to get a crit. Crits aren't super reliable on 3 dice, so it shouldn't be your all-in plan. Crits are pretty reliable on 4 dice, but again, we'll get to that. Her next spell is called Occult Whispers. This is the moneymaker right here. The spell feels a little bit like a feat. It says, while in this model's control area, friendly faction models, including yourself, gain an additional die on their magic attack rolls this turn.
So,
just extra die to hit.
I will say, just to cover really quickly, so that means crits have a better chance of happening.
For sure.
Which just spikes up that first attack again for Hoarfrost.
Yep.
So, yeah, suddenly crits are quite a bit more likely.
Yeah, your Turnians who are magic ability 7 get 3 dice to hit. If you put Valachev on Ionenholt, Iona can harm something with 3 dice to hit.
Yep.
Your Greylord Outriders with their sprays are rolling 3 dice to hit. Anyone who's played Vlad, either 2 or 3 can tell you, or 1 actually, can tell you that like the extra die drop lowest on them is really, really powerful.
Yep.
3 dice just baseline is even more powerful. They'll clear the world of infantry, and they can do that while basically in melee with something. Like they don't have to keep a bit of a dead zone away because they're not ranged attacks, they're magic attacks.
Yeah. Just it's nice to have that huge buff.
Yep.
And the fact that it's within her control. She's 7, so it's now 14.
Like I feel like when you build an army for her, it's gonna feel like the army that the wizard queen would lead. Like she's queen's a bad term, but she's like a commander of wizards. She should have legions of Greylords around her.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find she will.
Yeah.
Sacrificial Lamb is a weird spell. That's kind of a traditionally Menoth spell. It's 1 cost. You kill a guy, removing him from play from a friendly unit, and then you get to allocate a focus to every jack in your battle group. Maybe it's a bit of a trap. On High Reclaimer, it feels like a trap.
I can see it being very situational.
Sure. One of the things that's cool is you could use like a Bad Santa. What are they called? The Greylord solo for 2 points who has Power Booster.
Okay.
So he can allocate a focus to a jack that hasn't had any focus allocated to it.
Yep.
And then you could use Sacrificial Lamb as kind of an out of activation way to give it a second focus.
Yeah.
Might be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I don't really see it as a trap just because it is a cost 1. Yeah, you lose a guy, but
I just don't know if I want to put a whole bunch of jacks on her. But then again, there's environments where a whole bunch of jacks is really scary.
Yeah. So,
especially when you're stationary enemy models. Then there's one more spell.
Oh. That's crazy. Sorry. I'm just...
Yeah. Telgeshmark. This model can channel spells through target friendly model as if it were a model in this model's battle group with Arcnode. So that doesn't specify Warjack. You can put that on a Chaosi Eliminator with Acrobatics, run through the enemy lines to get line of sight to their caster, stay out of melee of any other models when you get there, and just channel through that model. A little the old boosted Hoarfrost.
I was thinking more a nice Dissolution Bolt. Just
prevent them from channeling.
That's a nice way to shut down some...
Just deny that for a turn.
That will definitely shut down a lot of Crixlists. Just the crazy Arc
just
nodes.
No more arcing.
Yep.
I don't care how many Arc nodes you brought, Gatsby. You don't get to excarnate this turn.
So, yeah. I like
Good
her.
job, Sarkova.
I like her.
Next thing. Oh, she also has a feat.
Yes. I was hoping we could skip that.
Each friendly faction model in her control area immediately casts a spell without spending focus or having to perform a special attack or action. So Valachev on Iona and Holt. Zephyr is another 3 inches, either forwards or backwards, harms a second target. Zerkova throws out another Hoarfrost. Maybe she Telgeshmark target through that a Dissolution Bolt at something else. All of your spray ponies spray again. Maybe they ran to engage the front lines of your enemy, and then all of them did 3 dice to hit.
There's a reason I'm trying to skip this.
It's really good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Also, the Reaver Guard do have counter charge. Just a nice way to add a little
we
more
mentioned
defense.
that before.
I saw it again there, and it's just something I feel needs to be brought up one more time.
Yeah, Reach Weapon Master, Magical Lay Bomb counter charge.
Yeah.
Seems like a good profile.
I can live with that.
The Mad Dog.
Oh, the Mad Dog.
So I don't love the Mad Dog, but I don't love Berserker Chassis Jacks. One thing that's really appealing about the Mad Dog is he's 5 points. He's 5 points for a heavy, which cannot be discounted. He is a Berserker Chassis Jack. So he has the same weaknesses that a Berserker has and the same strength that a Berserker has.
So you are sitting at unstable.
Yep. So when he spends focus, he has to basically roll a d6 and get like more than the number of focus he spent to not blow up. Blowing up can be good sometimes. Like he does damage to, it's a POW 14 blast damage roll. The flip side is he loses a literal box where his Cortex would be, so he's down to 2 Cortex boxes.
Yep.
Mad Hurricane Tech right there. And then his defense goes up to 11 from 10 versus other Cater Jacks, but his armor goes down to 18.
Yeah.
And then the biggest downside of being from being a Berserker chassis is the Mat 5.
Yeah.
He goes down to Mat 5,
So.
Rat 3.
He is aggressive, so he can run a charge without spending focus or being forced. So that's a nice way to get him around without having to worry about unstable.
Yep.
He is jerry-rigged, so he can spend a focus to get an additional 2 speed.
By doing damage to his movement.
And he does take 1 damage to his movement. That does come into play quite a bit when you consider Crusher. I do like that.
Yeah.
So Crusher is, this model gains additional die on trample attack rolls and can make trample and power attacks without spending a focus.
Which is pretty cool.
So it is nice just because if you think about it, it's a nice way for him to go 7 inches around through an army. You're not spending that focus, you're getting that little bit of extra distance, and even though you're Mat 5, there's a good chance you're going to hit most of your
With the additional
targets.
die, it helps. You can still boost that if you want. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily spend focus doing it, but if you were playing a caster who had like Karchev has fully boosted attacks, I want to say full throttle, but that's not right.
No.
Unearthly Rage.
Okay. Yep.
Except Butcher's one. Anyway, doesn't matter. There's Karchev supports him really well. Gives him like 4 dice to hit tramples, which is kind of cool.
Yep.
Also, if you play him in a tier that gives like a reduced point cost on jacks, you have 4 point heavies.
Also, keeping him with Butcher 2, getting the additional speed
Yep.
is very nice, especially
From
when...
Conferred Rage.
Yep, especially when you consider the trample,
Yep.
which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, he fills some roles. He's also just like a 5-point jack that if you have like a +5 caster, you could just buy him, and that's it. Speaking of just by him, the Rager is, for everything that the Mad Dog doesn't excite me, the Rager does excite me. This, in my opinion, is a Berserker chassis done right. So same thing, the Mat 5, Defense 11, Arm 18, except this guy has a shield for +2 armor.
Yep.
So he goes to 11-20, which is a way better profile for not just randomly dying. He still is aggressive, so he can run and charge for free.
Still has unstable.
Still is unstable. Yep.
So.
But he has shield guard. This guy can actually take a hit for your caster, which makes him way more interesting in a lot of cater lists.
Yep.
Like Sorsha might look at taking this guy. I think maybe Zerkova could talk about this guy really seriously. Both of her versions.
No, absolutely. The one thing that doesn't really sell me too much about this is his shield cannon. He's shooting at Rat 3, so there's not much going on there. And looking at stats like that, I would almost expect it to be an AoE.
Yeah, it's not. It's range 8 and POW 15,
So.
but it's pretty good at hitting stationary models.
This is very true.
So maybe there's a little bit of synergy built in there, maybe
Yep.
not.
But I do
his
like it.
2 melee attacks are a POW 15 sword and a POW 12 shield.
So, again, range 8, not the furthest I'd like, but that POW 15 does look a little juicy.
Yeah. Also, if you blow him up, you don't get a wreck marker. So, like, even the, like, I'm going to run him and spend a bunch of focus and then have a wreck marker to stand out in the zone. He just gets removed from the table. Ruin?
Ruin.
He's not very good.
Nope, he's not.
No, Ruin is Butcher's character jack, and I'd say he's probably one of the best character jacks that has been released. He collects souls.
I think let's go with base stats to start before we start getting into Let's have the salad before we get into the main course here, Tim. Speed 4. Not the fastest, but again, there's ways around that with everything.
The old Mat 8 salad.
Yeah.
How about some 1018 salad?
You mean 1020?
Oh yeah, sorry, 10.
I was say you mean 1020 there?
I was speaking in reasonable stat terms. For the translation didn't apply to Kador.
No. So he's strength 12 to begin with, so adds that to it. Mat 8 is very nice. Rat 3, but he's not going to be shooting anything, so it doesn't
No guns on this
matter
guy.
that much. Defense 10 is good. It gets better when you consider all of his special abilities.
Yeah, you're gonna hit this guy.
Yep.
That's fine.
Armor 20 is,
No shield despite appearances. That's a seal, not a shield. So we'll talk about that in a second.
So, 34 boxes.
Seems good.
I can live with it.
Seems good.
Yep.
Almost as many as a monstrosity with much better stats to support it. Also,
I love monstrosities. Stop
the
me.
monstrosities are great, but they're not ruined.
They're not ruined. His armor fist is POW strength 16, and his black iron mace is POW strength 18. And they
One of the things that I think is really cool about this mace is this is a recovered Orgoth relic. So sometime in Warmachine past, some dude was wielding this thing. And if you've seen the model, that is terrifying. I never want to meet that dude.
So
He has Abomination.
yes, he is an abomination. So,
Yep, so
he's
he'll freak
scary.
everybody out.
He is a scary person.
Except Butcher. Butcher's not afraid of anything.
That's because he's Butcher.
Yeah. He has Affinity Zoctavir. Zoctavir is the first name of the butcher, if anyone was wondering. We keep saying butcher. He's Zoctavir. Ovas Zoctavir? No, that's not right. Anyway,
Okay.
the butcher.
He gains Boundless Charge.
That spell that we were making such a big deal about how powerful it was on Warjacks that Durst has, he just like has that all the time, just doing it up.
Well, he's within Butcher's control, so
Yeah, so
which is good.
all of the time.
So again, he goes from speed 4, which is a nice salad, to speed 6, which is a delicious salad with wonderful dressing.
With Reach and Pathfinder. Yeah.
And suddenly someone just threw in bacon.
Ugh.
Sorry. He also has the Ogroth Seal.
So Zerkova had an Orgoth Seal in her Prime version. Her Epic version is just like no spells for you. -3 range when you target him with an offensive spell. And then if he still his hit anyway, the attacking model takes d6 damage. So that's offensive spells, so like you can power boost him with the Greylord guy and not like kill your Greylord guy. But like if you want to shoot him with Razor Wind with your own caster, you're going to take d6 or just be out of range. Also, like if you have to parasite this guy, you have to be that much closer, which is if you're within 5 inches of Ruin with a Arc Node, that Arc Node is not going to last.
No. I also like the d6 damage points. Makes it a little bit threatening to use things like Journeymans against it. To use just like characters or solos with their spells. Iona would be terrified to try and put harm on him.
Oh yeah.
Because it's 33% chance of killing her.
That's bad. That's really bad.
Yeah. Also, a Soul Taker. Gains a soul token when a living model is destroyed within 2 inches. Not if he kills one, just if one dies within 2 inches of him.
And like unlike some casters and Deathjack and stuff, he can spend those souls during his own turn. So it's a pseudo berserk ability, which is I think pretty fluffy.
Yep. And again, he has special issue, so he can be used in all of Butcher's tiers.
It's one rule that we haven't talked about yet.
I don't want to talk about it.
Black Iron Mace says Dispel, focus on hit. Means if he charges a Stormwall, he hits the Stormwall, removes Arcane Shield, then resolves damage. Seems pretty good.
There's a reason I was avoiding that. Yes, it is.
Put Fury on that bad boy.
Yep, it is
With
gross
Butcher.
for taking stuff away from people.
Speaking of Kadar winning, let's talk a little bit about the Victor.
Oh, Victor.
So, most notable thing about this Colossal is that they spelled Victor with a C.
Uh-huh.
What up, Kadar?
Oh,
Get your act together.
No, it's implying it's one letter away from victory.
Yeah, but like everything's spelled with a K.
But-
Commander, Capitan, Conrad with a K. Come on.
It makes you wonder why, and then when you think why, you realize, oh, if I put Y at the end, it's victory.
That was lame.
I'm over it. you know that was clever.
It was.
Okay.
All right. So this guy is
The mother of industry, which is war, as per the mechanics.
yeah. So he's
Tough.
he's better and worse than the Conquest. I think mostly better, but in a couple of ways, I think there's situations where I'd want to take the Conquest instead. Still strength 18, which means his fists are still past strength 22. So you haven't lost any of that. You're still speed 4, you're still arm 20, so you feel like a Cato Jack in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Defense is still like 7, so that doesn't matter.
No, armor 20.
Mat 6, rat 4. Although, sometimes not.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about the siege.
Let's just... He has a gun called the Siege Mortar. It can shoot pretty much half the board.
Range 20,
Range 20.
for what it's worth.
Considering the board is 48.
Minus
Half that is
10, minus 7,
24.
minus 4 for your walk. Lots of distance.
Yeah, he's shooting pretty much the board turn 1.
Yep.
It is inaccurate, which means that when you shoot with this weapon, it does get -4 to the
Rat
attack
0.
roll. So he's effectively Rat 0.
All good. Don't worry.
Gets better. It does have attack type, so each time it shoots, you can choose one of the following abilities. Crater, which stats for this gun is range 20, rate of fire 1, AoE 5, and POW 15. This AoE 5 can either be a crater, which is left in play and is treated as rough terrain, can shoot a flare, where models hit by this attack suffer -2 defense for 1 round.
Seems good.
Always good. Nice to be a little bit easier to shoot stuff. Has Incendiary. This attack causes fire damage, and models hit suffer the fire continuous effect.
It's pretty cool. The old pie plate of fire damage right on top of your army.
On the grounds that you could light something on fire turn 1, and it would have the potential to stay on fire, taking those POW 12s all game if someone rolls poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And adds a nice little flavor there. And again, it is POW 15, so the blast damage you're looking at there is POW 8.
Yep.
Not something to just kind of ignore there.
So, like, it has a couple of restrictions. Obviously, the inaccurate. It also has arcing fire, like a lot of Kato guns, so it ignores intervening models, which is good because it shoots forever. It has a minimum range of 6 inches, so you can't use it like in point-blank range.
No.
Which a lot of Colossals like to do. So.
Oh, I see you're in melee with me. Let me shoot you. No, not happening. He also has 2 autocannons. These are autofire D3, so just same as the Conquest there with the D3 attacks. Spool it up, see how many times you get to shoot. It has flak fire.
Additional die to hit against flying models. Yeah.
What's going on with flying here?
Seeing a little bit of a theme of anti-flying tech. That might be about future releases. It could also be about the relative power level of Legion right now.
I think it could also come up with a few other things that come up a little bit later
There's nothing else that can fly in this book. We're done. I'm just kidding.
I will say, you are a terrible liar, sir.
There's at least one more flying model in this book.
So.
Point cost 18. And FA2. As I said, power string 22 on the fists, which are still open weapons.
Yep.
So this guy's really good. I can imagine just like pie plating a couple of big AoE 5 rough terrain spots on the board could deny a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Lighting whole armies on fire seems really good. Ignoring intervening lines of warders to light the stone unit on fire. I mean, assuming they didn't do no continuous, which probably they did, but even then, just putting a lot of those damage buffs
it's nice to have that going out there.
Is really powerful.
I'm a huge fan of just flak fire. It's something we haven't seen before.
Yeah,
so I find that really neat. POW strength, POW 12 on the autocannon. So if it is shooting something in the air, good chance it is going to hurt it.
Yep.
So that's nice to see there.
Yeah, and because it's additional die with the flak field, it can still boost if you really just need to hit a def high target.
And I like the look of the model.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we haven't seen the model, but it's got a similar chassis to Conquest, except with a huge gun on the top. So that's really cool. I love big, giant guns.
Yeah.
And like the Siege Mortar is also that same range 20 type of profile, but it doesn't have the ability to move and shoot, which this guy does. So it's actually a pretty mobile gun platform, even with Speed 4.
So, since we didn't take a huge amount of time talking there, how do you feel about Khador in the new book?
Khador's got a lot of cool releases.
It does.
Zarkova's going to be a big deal. I think the new Berserker chassis are interesting because they're cheap, and they give you a couple more jack options, and then Victor is going to see some play.
Now, I did mention before there was a game that I played where I used the Berserker, and Tim's response was, why would you ever take a Berserker? There's no reason to take a Berserker, followed by just questioning my sanity.
I was polite about it.
No, you weren't. Looking at this now, especially with the new caster and everything, I do like where the Berserker chassis are going. I do like that they have a little bit more defensive structure to them. I also really like just the overall spell denial and the bonuses they're getting to just spells as a whole. From my personal experience with playing Khador and playing against Khador, I've always found they like to brick and get in melee, and that's kind of what they do. It's nice to see this kind of breaking the mold a little bit and giving them that spell, basically that spell presence on the field, as well as that spell denial, which it's just nice to kind of see.
Zarkova does a pretty compelling Veil 2 impression of their assassination run, especially with access to the feet, and I think that's really good.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Crix.
No, we're not. There's nothing new about Crix that's entertaining or neat at all, especially not this page you have open right now.
If you've been on the internet, which you may have done,
welcome to the internet.
I've seen some folks out there who have said Denegra 3, the Soul Weaver, is not that great.
They lie.
They are super wrong.
They are lying.
Heard it here first. Denegra 3 is really powerful.
No.
And she has a very simple profile, and then the implications of that are very, very large. So she's a huge base. So she's a cavalry model on a battle engine. Because she's a battle engine, she's innately Pathfinder, she is innately immune to stationary, she is innately immune to knockdown.
Yep. Before we get any further into that, when you do get this book, first thing you should do is flip to pretty much the back where they show the painted and the display models, and look at this model.
Yeah, she's really pretty.
It's gorgeous.
I got to see her in person at Lock and Load, and she was a lot of fun.
I opened up the book and I started drooling.
So that's the rules for Battle Engine. Battle Engine has a couple other rules, but those are the big ones. The next one is that she's cavalry. Because she's cavalry, she counts as heavy cav. That means on a charge, she gets +2 mat on her charge attack. She also is able to make impact attacks against the model she gets base to base with and anything within 0.5. She can make ride by attacks, where she moves a portion of her movement and then makes her melee attack before her movement's completed. That's powerful for a couple of different timing reasons. Like you can say, like, if a model has, for example, countercharge, you can move 4 inches, say my movement's not done yet, assassinate your caster, move back a couple of inches, and then say, okay, now you can countercharge, but by that point they're dead, so it doesn't matter. So you can change the way that those effects resolve in a couple of different ways.
Yep.
It also lets you get around ammunition, which is a cool effect. That's what being a battle engine and a cavalry, in short, gives her. She is speed 9, so a lot faster than her previous versions.
She also has flight.
Yeah, flight. So very, very, very mobile. She's on a dragon.
If only there were certain things that just came out that have better things to deny flight.
Well, if you deny flight, she still has Pathfinder because she's a battle engine.
And if only you had things that made it easier to shoot stuff with flight.
Well, we'll get to how easy she is to shoot with your Rat 4, Victor. She's
Don't wreck this moment for
6,
me.
Rat 4.
Yeah.
Defense 15, armor 16. So she lost the defense but gained 2 points of armor, which on balance I think is a pretty good trade.
She's a giant target now. That would make sense.
Well, she's not that. We're going to get back to how
visually a
not
giant target now.
She has a venomous spray, which is aptly named because it's basically her spell Venom from the previous iterations of her. In 1 and 2, she had Venom, which is a spray 8, POW 10 magic attack.
Yep.
It's not magical in this version, but it still does continuous corrosion. It's still corrosion typed, and you have to use her Rat 4 instead of her focus out of 7. So generally speaking, I think that's a bit of a downgrade on Venom.
Yeah.
But access to sprays is always good. She has a melee attack called Malefactor, which is POW strength 13, which is good because in her previous version she hasn't had POW strength 13. It's reach. It's a magical weapon, and then
She also has her mount attack.
Yeah, she has a mount attack, which is POW 12, and she'll only get that if she ends up making an impact attack. So she won't get that all the time, but she can get it on some charge attacks.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that there.
She is undead in this version, just like she was in her second version. She has Cull Soul, like a lot of Crix casters, so when she accumulates souls, she gets it when a living model dies within 2, and then, or an enemy living model dies within 2, and then she also she automatically turns them into focus in her maintenance phase, and that allows her to exceed her normal focus stat.
Which is always good.
As we said, she has flight, and then she has a cool new rule called Soul Mastery.
Before you get into that one, I think you should cover Soul Reaver.
Okay, sure.
Just to kind of give this a little bit more
So Soul Reaver is an ability that says during her activation, you can choose a friendly model in her command range with body count, Cull Soul, Soul Collector, or Soul Taker. Remove any number of soul tokens from the chosen model and place 1 soul token on this model for each token removed. So you can say, Deathjack, I would like the 3 souls you collected from running into that infantry unit. Like Harrower, I'd like the 3 souls you got. Wraith Engine, I'd like your souls. And you can do that anywhere within her command range of 9. And you can do it during her activation, so you can do it after sort of moving forward 4 as part of a ride by attack, take the souls, and then move back 5.
Yep.
Which gives her the ability to get some extra focus, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always fun.
And it also gives her another ability.
Yeah.
So, if she's able to get a couple of focus a turn, she can be really, a couple of souls a turn, she can be really powerful with those souls due to her Soul Mastery rule. So her Soul Mastery says, anytime during her activation, she can spend soul tokens for the following effects. Each use of a Soul Mastery costs 1 soul token. So there's no restriction on how many times she can do this, as long as she has souls to power it. So Vengeful Spirits says choose a warjack in her battle group in her command range. That warjack is allocated up to 3 focus points. So some things that's really powerful with.
Yep.
You give that to Leviathan. The Leviathan now has enough focus to sort of buy its extra attacks, get a boost in there, maybe boost a couple of attacks and buy 1. Like Leviathans are really focus hungry, and this makes them really powerful.
Yep.
Give it to a Harrower. It can buy even more attacks. It can collect more souls to fuel her for the following turn.
Yep.
Give it to Nightmare, her character jack. It is even better.
Yep.
Not so spectacular with Deathjack. Deathjack's interaction that allows him to have 5 focus is you allocate him 3, then he gains 2 in the maintenance phase.
Yep.
This allocates him up to 3 after he's already received his 2, so it actually only gives him 1 if both of his arms were functional. So it's not the 5 focus you want to put on Deathjack. Nope. So he's not maybe the perfect choice for her, but Deathjack's pretty desirable in almost every list you want to make.
And when you consider her spell list, it makes a little bit more sense for...
Yeah. It's also true that putting out, say, 3 focus onto a Stalker is really cool. Stalkers really like having focus to buy attacks.
Yep.
3 focus on a Helldiver to get those slams in really cool places.
Yep.
You get to make use of Crick's Jacks, which is something not a lot of Crick's casters can say, and Crick's has some very powerful Jacks.
And the thing is, you're basically turning 1 soul into 3 focus.
Which is pretty efficient.
Which is awesome.
I mean, you have to have those souls, and we've seen she's got a couple ways to get them, but there's some restrictions there. But I think she's powerful with it.
And all in all, Soul Mastery is pretty good. Let's move on.
Yeah, she also has an ability called Arcane Spirits.
No, she doesn't. I deny this exists.
One of the Soul Mastery abilities. It says she can spend a soul.
So 1 soul.
1 soul to cast a spell with cost 3 or less without spending focus.
When you consider her spell list,
we'll get to that. So
this is amazing.
She doesn't have any nukes that cost 3 or less.
No.
So you can't just collect a couple of souls and nuke a bunch of times.
No.
She's going to have to be a little bit more subtle than that. But that's good because she's kind of a support caster in a lot of ways. Her spells are, she only has 4 of these, but she's going to be doing them a few times.
Quite a few times.
The first one is Ghost Walk. So Ghost Walk has been in every version of Denegra already.
I would say we did cover
it's in a version of Haley now. It's a really powerful spell.
Yeah. So that's nothing that we haven't covered already.
Gravewind is an upkeep spell. So far I've only seen it on Jaga Jaga. It gives +2 defense and Poltergeist to a friendly faction model. So it just affects 1 model. And I think for a lot of games you're going to be putting it on Denegra herself.
Yep, which would change her from 15 to
17 defense, which seems really good.
Yeah.
And then if a model misses her with an attack, they get
Poltergeist.
pushed D3 inches away from Poltergeist.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to say, like, you charge me with your non-reach heavy, and like how many attacks are you going to get? Like, it changes the math on when you want to boost.
Yep.
That's 2 cost spells, so she can cast both of those using souls. And then the third spell she has is Mortality.
Ugh.
Mortality is a really, really neat spell.
It's a really good spell.
So far I've only seen it on the Hunter's Grim, the epic version of Grim, for trolls. And it says target enemy model/unit. Suffers -2 defense and armor, doing a pretty compelling crippling grasp impression right there. And cannot be healed. Mortality lasts for 1 round.
Now, one thing that's really nice about this, it's not an upkeep.
No.
So you're spending 1 soul, and you can cast this on multiple units.
Yeah, so 1 soul mortality that unit, 1 soul mortality that unit, 1 soul mortality that unit. Go with my pretties, kill them all.
So this is really good for shutting down a lot of armies with Tough.
Tough is a big deal. Martyrdom is also a powerful one. If they want to martyrdom a bunch of Temple Flame Guard, you can say just like no.
Really good way for negating Harbinger.
If you've ever played against a caster with Defender's Ward, this is the opposite of Defender's Ward, which is really, really good. This is a very, very powerful spell, and I'm surprised they gave out a non-upkeep 2-cost version of Crippling Grasp to a caster who can spam it really effectively. The last spell on her list, her 4th spell is Scourge, which she brought back from her Prime version.
Yep.
It's a 4-cost nuke, and it's a 4-cost nuke for a reason, because otherwise I think she'd be really, really ridiculous if she still had something like Venom, or if she got a spell like Hellfire.
Yeah, and it's 100% understandable why she got
it does models hit her knocked down. The thing that's cool about that is she can never accidentally knock down herself. Like if she charges into a caster to get her impact attack, and then scourges them before resolving her charge attack, she will not knock herself down because she is a battle engine.
Now, just to cover it really quick, it is a cost 4 spell, range 8, AoE 3, so you can, for example, shoot a lower defense model that's close enough to the higher defense model just to get the knockdown on that. For example, a shield guard model in base to base with a caster. Pretty much use the shield guard model to do the exact opposite of what they're supposed to do and get that caster knocked down.
You can run your own Mechanithrall next to them because it doesn't even specify enemy model, unlike some of those effects.
And it is a POW 13, so the blast damage from it you're looking at there is POW 7, which isn't too bad.
Not too shabby.
Nope.
And then her feat is really simple. Denegra immediately gains 7 soul tokens. So there's your soul fixing problem. Yep. So one of the things that's really neat about that feat is you can kind of use it like a feat for this turn and a little mini feat for next turn. Like you can spend it, get 7 souls, spend 3 of them to like mortality this, mortality that, give 3 to Leviathan, ride by back. And then on the next turn you're like, oh look, I had 4 extra souls. I now have 11 focus this turn.
Which
Let's do it all again.
Again, nothing to laugh at when you're considering she's got Poltergeist on her. Spending the 1 to upkeep that, so now she's down to 10 focus, which puts her up to armor 26 with Poltergeist.
Seems legit. That's a pretty good middle of the board caster. Roll a 13 with your flak fields now. She's good.
I like her. I like her model. I like her stats. I like what she does.
She's good for the faction. She's She does a lot of things that Crix casters haven't been able to do well. She answers a lot of the problems that exist in the metagame.
Yep.
She gives Crix a really clear and really present answer to some of the medium-based infantry skew that exists.
Yeah.
Without relying on casters that aren't otherwise powerful. I think she's good. I think she's really exciting.
I like her a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing her on the board. I'm looking forward to just getting that model and painting her.
Agreed. I think a lot of people are going to want to paint that model.
She looks very pretty. I'm very excited for her.
Yeah.
I'm a little scared. I'm scared for anybody who comes in to play against me and they're going to be fielding that, just because there goes my Exelon Thexus list.
Yeah, she's really good at dealing with a whole bunch of drudges.
She's really good at just dealing with infantry, I feel.
She needs something that can make up the volume of attacks to support it, but she can certainly handle the debuffing and the removal of tough side herself.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Barathrum.
Nope.
Barathrum is the character Jack that Crix got on this list. He's theoretically Terminus's Jack, although I don't know if Terminus is necessarily going to want to include him. He doesn't have an affinity with him. He just
I can see the likeness, though, between Terminus and this Jack.
Visually, this art is another example of really cool art. This book has a lot of great art in it.
Yeah.
He's the Seether chassis.
Yep.
So he has Soul Drive. He gets a free focus each turn. He doesn't have aggressive, but he has
he comes with
deployment.
Yep, and he also has terror, which is nice.
He does have terror. He has 2 + 17 attacks and a + 12 attack, all of which is at mat 8. So pretty great in that.
When you start to consider how strong his stuff is, his 2 talons are power strength 17.
Yep.
And his tusk is power 12, which is really good, especially when you consider all the special stuff that he can do.
Yep. So
countercharge.
Yeah, he has countercharge, which is neat, especially in combination with one of his other abilities. Countercharge is a powerful ability, especially on an AD model who is also speed 6. He has Dig In as an action, which can make him defense 17 against shooting, which helps a lot of the problems Crix Jacks run into where they just kind of get knocked off the board by like good Signar shooting.
Yep.
He won't be like Gun Mage pushed out of his zone as readily because of that cover.
It's also really nice because he is a heavy jack, so he's a large base, and Dug In means that he will not be blocking line of sight.
Yep.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword in the sense that you can't use him to block stuff behind him, but it's also nice because you can shoot past him.
Yeah, so he's pretty exciting. He also has this really cool ability called Drag Below.
I really like this. So
Drag Below is a weird rule that you might not have seen in a lot of things. I think Scorn have it on something. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
Anyway, honestly, I don't see it very much on the table, so I had to double check what the rule did. Drag Below it's a remove from play effect.
It literally does what it says.
Sorta. I wanted to put a Helldiver marker on the board, which would be too good for a heavy.
Fair enough.
But it says during its activation, immediately after resolving an attack in which it boxed a living enemy model, this model can use Drag Below. So it has to be against something alive, and it has to be against an enemy. The box model is removed from play. Then this model can immediately make a full advance, and then perform a Dig In special action. Then its activation ends. So you can do some cute things. Like, you can use it a little bit like a weird sprint move. Like, you can charge in on a unit, kill some stuff on the last thing that you kill. You can, walk back 6 and dig in, which is sort of a little bit like how sprint works. You can also use it to, set up weird countercharges.
I'm thinking it more for scenario-wise. It's really good for just making the distance to get in a zone, and then you've got the dig in at the end, which just adds even more to your defense.
Be a fairly survivable, hard to shoot off the table type of chassis.
Absolutely.
When you get there. The last rule he has, which I think is also one of those situationally quite powerful abilities, is his talents have feedback. Feedback is if it damages a jack, it does damage to its controlling warcaster. That's especially good in a culture where you have a lot of juniors, like Gaston controlling a galleon.
Just gonna say that.
You get this guy in on the galleon, and maybe he uses 3 focus plus 2 initial attacks to kill Gaston. Seems good.
Again, special issue. He is special issued with Terminus.
So you can include him in Terminus's theme force.
Yep. He also has Soul Drive, so
he gets that free focus.
He does get one free focus, which is nice to see. So, for 10 points, do you think you'd bring him?
Maybe not with Terminus. Maybe with Scar.
Yep.
Maybe with certain Denny builds.
Yep.
I might put him into a Denegra 3 list.
Okay.
Although I think she wants to run a lot of guns. I think he's another really powerful heavy jack who's really focus hungry. And she certainly feels a powerful battle group.
Yeah. And with armor 17 and 28 boxes, I think he's pretty survivable.
Yeah. I might play him in the Witch Coven too.
That would be, I can see that. Yep.
He seems interesting.
Right,
he's another one of those puzzle pieces for Crix. I think he's going to solve some problems that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, which is nice to see. I'm still very excited to see how far someone can get him to travel with the Drag Below.
Sepulture.
That, yeah.
So the Sepulcher is the Kraken chassis.
The new Kraken,
So like
the new
Kraken,
Colossal.
Like the Kraken, it has amphibious, which is an important rule. Not really.
No.
It has 4-inch melee range.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just cover the stats really quick on it. Cause
Sure,
it is a Colossal. It's going to be running the same stats as the
Kraken.
The Kraken.
Yep.
You're looking at speed 5, mat 6, rat 5.
Yep. Defense 10, which is surprisingly good for a Colossal.
Yep.
Armor 19.
So, Body Snatcher.
Yeah.
I like this.
That's the rule from the Necrosurgeon. So it collects corpse tokens when Mechanithrals or living models die.
Within 5 inches of it.
Yep.
And then it also has Necro Industry.
Which lets it make Mechanithrals.
Sorry, that was my lead
up to 3 of them. Or it can spend 3 corpse tokens to make a Brute Thrall and add it to a friendly Mechanithral unit. Which is cool. We've never seen a way to put Brute Thralls in a blade before. So.
No, and I do like that. I like the fact that it's placed within 3 inches of this model and in formation. It seems like a stronger version, which makes sense when you consider its size and point cost, of the Enigma Foundries from Convergence.
Yeah, it's definitely got similarities to Enigma Foundries. Enigma Foundries only have to spend 1 soul to return a Reciprocator, whereas this actually has to spend the 3 corpses. But you can get these corpses a lot more readily. You can also kill off your own Mechanithrals to upgrade them to Brute Thralls and then charge it on casters and stuff, which seems like a good effect.
Yep. Weapons-wise, it has the Desolator, which is its superstructure weapon, so it has the entire front arc for fire. It's range 13, rate of fire 1. It's an AoE 5 at POW 13.
Yeah.
And when you consider its rate of 5, it's not inaccurate, so it has a good chance of hitting something.
You might boost too.
Yeah.
Because it has a critical effect.
Yep. And again, with it being an AoE, it has Arcing Fire, so it's ignoring those models.
Not every AoE has Arcing Fire, but it's certainly nice to have it on.
But again, with the Colossals and the large AoEs, it's nice to see that. Also has crit paralysis, so
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it reduces the defense of a model hit. Living model hit has their base defense reduced down to 7, and they can't run or charge for a round.
And with AoE 5, you could reliably possibly hit a couple of things. Obviously, it's good in an assassination run if you boost on a caster or something like that. It's also good to maybe boost to hit on a unit, clip the cure 4 of them in the AoE 5, and then just reduce. Chris has some problems with hitting defense from time to time.
Yep. And again, with the Arcing Fire, it's really good to shoot at. Even if you're trying to hit the caster, you can hit something within that range, and especially if they have shield guard or anything like that, it's a nice way to kind of negate that.
Yeah.
The Spiker.
The Spiker's a weird weapon. It's pretty cool. It's range 11 and rate of fire 2. So you can buy a second shot with a focus. And then it's POW 13. It also has boost fire. So boost fire. Burst fire. It does have boostable guns, of course, but burst fire is the rule from the Spiker on the Crooks Heavy. So it has +1 damage against medium bases, so it goes from POW 13 to POW 14, and then +2 damage against large bases, so POW 15 against large bases.
And huge bases, which is nice. I also like the swivel.
Yeah. Swivel's a weird rule. I don't know necessarily where it's going to come up so far, but it's a cool one. It can shoot in, with the left gun, it can shoot in the whole left arc and the entire back profile. So those guns rock around in a spiraling corner. And
when you look at the model itself, the gun is pretty much attached to a nice little tentacle arm, so it makes sense that it's just kind of
tuck back and shoot something.
Pull off some
versus the Kraken, it doesn't have Corpse Collector anymore, so it's not getting extra power on its gun, it's not getting extra strength. But it has pull.
Yep. It also has Chain Strike, so again, you are getting that 4-inch.
Same as the Kraken. Ignores bucklers, 4-inch reach, and then when it hits you, it can drag you in.
Which is always good. With that 4-inch reach, it's nice to be able to think that you can pull stuff out of zones, you can pull stuff out of combat with other things. So that 4-inch distance of pull is nice to see there.
You can possibly pull a Jack or a Warbeast out of control area.
Yep, which is also good there.
So from being reaved after you kill it.
Yeah, it's just nice to see that distance that you can pull something as opposed to the usual pull for things like Tentacle and stuff like that, where it's only the 2-inch reach.
The 2-inch reach.
I like to see that 4-inch reach right there. It's nice to think of the possibilities that opens up. Field allowance 2 as normal. The harvesters are power strength 18, and it's got
same as on the Kraken.
And it's got a point cost of 18 there, so pretty much on par with the Kraken as per stats and points wise. As for guns and abilities wise, it's neat.
It's a real middle of the board piece, which is really cool. I think Crix kind of wants that.
I feel like it can very nicely do 2 different roles. It can either be your middle of the board support, arcing fire, line up shots, stuff like that, or it can actually be your infantry like
Yep.
it can be your industry there. It's just
and it can
spitting out
be
thralls.
that industry while also kind of getting some work done, denying charges from like bronze backs. Those kind of cool abilities you'd expect it to have.
Yep.
Softening up heavies for the approach.
Yep. And
I think
again,
it's a really good utility piece that's really going to occupy the center of an army.
Yep.
I don't think it replaces the Kraken, but I think it makes a compelling argument for inclusion in different lists.
And the whole being able to deploy models within 3 inches, it doesn't say wholly within. So if it does have a model in base to base with it that looks like it's going to block it, you can still deploy that model on the other side of the base as long as it's not a huge base.
Especially with the brutes, which is
So, yeah, it's always good.
Kirk's got another jack in this book.
They did. Oh, look! It has wings.
Silence you. It is a flying jack. It's called the Shrike.
I was going to say, what's it called, Tim?
It's doing a pretty good Razor Wing impression, if anyone knows the Circle Light War Beast. So it's speed 7, strength 7, mat 7, rat 4, which doesn't matter because it doesn't have range attacks, defense 16, armor 13. So it's got like the Stalker like chassis.
Yep.
It also
has wings.
It has flight, just like the Scavenger has
I like
flight.
it.
Yeah. And then it also has Blade Rush, so when making a trample power attack, which it can do, it says that later, this model ignores free strikes, does not stop because it contacts a model with a medium or larger base, an obstacle, or an obstruction, and it can make trample attacks against models regardless of their base size. So it runs through, slices its blades against everything.
But it's not running, Tim. It's flying.
Flies through, slashing through all the stuff that it hits.
I can just picture it like you see those videos and stuff like that where people use the little glider suits and they're flying in between buildings.
Yep.
I'm picturing it doing this and just slicing stuff on its way through.
It sure is. And it gets to add the power of its blades to its trample attacks.
Yeah, and it's POW strength 11, so...
So, 2 POW 11 attacks, 1 on the beak, 1 on the blades. The blades aren't tied to its head system. It has a really weird Crixie grid, which you'd expect.
Yep. It almost looks like it has wings if you...
It's only 4 points, so it's pretty cool.
Yep, I like it. It also has power attack trample, so it, like you were saying before, it can make those trample attacks even though it's a bone jack there. I like it.
Yep.
I like it a lot. Seems a little bit squishy when you consider some of the stuff that's now out for anti-flying.
Def 16 helps it a lot.
Yep.
You still need to probably boost the additional die on the flak guns. So
Yep. So
it's pretty good. Plus, not everyone's necessarily going to take those things.
absolutely.
It's also worth noting that it has the Blade Rush even if it doesn't have flight. So even if you're in turbulence range, you can still sort of fly over things with your trample.
Yep. So
Soul Trapper.
the Soul Trapper, the Crix Thrall Solo.
Yeah, this guy is...
It's interesting. I like him, and I'm at the same time I feel like I know what his job is.
So he collects souls. He collects souls on any living enemy model destroyed within 10 inches of it. He can have up to 3 souls, and he can spend souls to get additional attacks or to boost and bio damage. He's got the Mechaniclaw like the Scarlock does, so he's just power strength 8.
Yep.
He is FA 3, and he's a solo.
And
you buy 2 of them for 1 point.
Yep.
He then has a star action with range 5. It says target friendly faction model with body count, soul count, soul collector, or pardon me, cull soul, soul collector, or soul taker. If that model is in range, remove any number of soul tokens from this model. Place 1 soul token on them for each point removed.
Which is very similar to how...
Yeah, it's a lot like Denny's ability.
Yeah.
You could obviously imagine this guy being included in a Negra list where, you had the 2 of them run up the flanks, some stuff dies, they pick up its souls, they walk back and they're like, here you go, Denny, have some more souls.
I can also see it being really good for if you're having trouble making the distance between 2, like you have Denegra here and you want her to go somewhere else. And the one thing that does collect souls in between it and Denegra only has 1 soul on it. It can move that distance and a special action to bring it back up to its maximum amount, which gives Denegra even more souls at her disposal.
You can chain them between each other, which is pretty cool. They can conduit along.
Yep.
He can still only have 3, so you just have to. You can't like give him 10 and then give her 15 or something like that.
No, but if you have something out there that doesn't have a limit to the number of souls it can get, you can start going. This one's collected here, here, and here, so they are all going to transfer to the 1 model.
Yeah.
So that's nice to see there. They're a point each. It's a point for 2.
Yep.
I have no complaints.
Yeah, cheap support utility solo. Doesn't have a lot of offensive capabilities, but clearly has a role in a lot of armies.
Yep.
Feels a little bit like a Crix version of Rax, except the people you're torturing are the ones you're currently engaging in combat.
And they don't blow up when they don't do what you want.
They'd probably blow up when someone shoots them. But
That's fair.
in terms of defensive tech, this guy has defense 11, armor 12, no stealth.
Yeah.
So he'll get blown up, but hopefully not before he gave you a couple souls.
Fair enough. All in all, with Crix,
Powerful releases.
Denegra.
She's really good.
I like her.
The whole release slate for Crix feels like a lot of things that Crix maybe needed, but maybe some Crix players didn't necessarily want. Mm-hmm. It's a good book for Crix, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
I'm not going to argue with that at all. I think they're getting a lot of stuff that they don't need, but...
No, I think they're getting a lot of stuff they do need, but they don't necessarily want. Maybe you be the judge.
Fair enough.
Tell us in the comments below what you think. Which of us is right, and who knows what they're talking about. Maybe.
He's the one with Privateer Press on his shirt. Trust me.
Seems legit.
False advertising. Anyway, no, all in all, I do like Crix. I do like what they're coming out with, and I think it's going to change up what you see on the board on a regular basis for Crix, and I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe. I mean, the Crix is still going to play the Crix tricks,
Mm-hmm.
but there's new things and new tricks, and be prepared for them.
Mm-hmm.
Heard it here first. Okay, Retribution. Thyron, Sword of Truth. This guy's from a new house. Just
before we get into it, I want to cover his feet first.
Yeah, go for it.
Before anything here.
Lasts one turn.
Take all the fun out of it. Take all the fun out of it. Okay. So this will give you an idea of how he plays out, but his feat is called Blades of Vengeance. Thyron and friendly faction models beginning their activation in Thyron's control area gain an additional die on melee attack rolls and sidestep. When a model with sidestep hits an enemy model with an initial attack, hits, not damage, if you actually hit them with his initial melee attack or melee special attack that is not a power attack, it can advance up 2 inches after the attack is resolved. A model with sidestep cannot be targeted by free strikes during this movement. That's where the feat wording ends. So I was trolling Tim for a little while saying that it doesn't say it lasts for a turn, it doesn't say it lasts for a round, it just doesn't end.
Obviously that's not working as intended.
No.
It was FAQ'd
Yes.
to suggest that it lasts for a turn.
Yes.
Warmachine doesn't have the FAQ vocabulary, but they did have the Infernals consultant rule on it. It has been officially stated that way.
So
Thyron has 6 speed, 7 strength, 7 mat, 5 rat, which doesn't matter because he has no guns. Defense 15, armor 16, and command 9.
Yep. Remembrance. I like the name of his weapon. I like
really
the
cool.
look of his weapon. It's a very pretty. He's just a pretty model in general, but I do like the look of his sword. It's a Reach Weapon Master magic weapon with POW strength 13. So yeah, he's getting stuff done.
Go toe to toe with Durst.
Yep.
Chat it up. What's up, brah?
Not for very long.
His Blade Shield.
He does have Blade Shield.
+2 defense against range attacks, so he's swatting those bullets out of the air.
Mm-hmm. He has Field Marshal Cleave, so models in his battle group gain Cleave. And what that does is, if a model with Cleave destroys one or more enemy models with a melee attack during its activation, immediately after the attack is resolved, the model can make one additional melee attack. The model can gain only one additional attack from Cleave each activation. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice little way of getting your jacks out there, especially the melee heavy jacks.
Yep.
Getting an extra attack out of them, which is nice to see.
Yeah, like the Banshee with its critical Grievous, getting the additional die on the feet turn.
Mm-hmm.
The Banshee really likes sidestep to get in there with its non-reach attack, and then it gets a lot of use out of Cleave where it kills something and then gets to kill something else. Imperatus obviously really likes Cleave because it has some big sexy swords. It's worth noting that Thyron himself gets Cleave, being in his own battle group, which is a powerful ability.
So he also has Riposte. Can you please?
Riposte.
Riposte, thank you.
It's French.
It is it. I don't speak French.
Fair enough.
Okay. When this model is missed by an enemy melee attack, immediately after the attack is resolved, it can make one normal melee attack against the attacking model.
Pretty cool ability. He slices bullets out of the air, he also slices swords out of the air. He slices, he dices, he whirls, he twirls.
It never gets dull. What's nice to see is that this is not limited to once per activation. So if you are swinging at his defense 15 and you are consistently missing, he is consistently riposting.
POW 13 weapon master in your face.
Yes.
With his old mat of 7.
He is currently sitting at focus 6, which is nice to see. He has 18 boxes and 5 warjack points.
Also, he's a medium base, which is the first for a Ratcaster we've seen.
Which is neat to see.
Big, cool power armor, agility fighter. Really feels cool.
I like him. Spells wise, he has Assail.
Assail's a cool spell. So Assail targets a warjack. It says that warjack can charge or make slam or trample power attacks without spending focus. So a little focus efficiency. It also says that warjack gets +2 movement when it charges or makes a slam or trample power attack. Models slammed by a warjack are moved +2 inches.
Yeah.
So free charge, always good. +2 inches of movement. Really sexy, especially on something like Imperatus,
Yep.
where he normally charges 9, has reach, threats 11, yeah, threats 13. With the feat, it only requires that Imperatus activate in Thyron's control area, so Imperatus goes out 13 inches, sidesteps a couple of times, has extra dice on all those attacks. Same thing with the Banshee, doing the same deal. Special mention for the Banshee, he has a momentum gun,
Yep.
which if it hits not a large base, it slams them D3 inches. Assail actually affects the distance on that slam as well.
Because the wording for it is models slammed by the Warjack are moved.
And the momentum cannon is an effect from the Warjack that causes a slam.
Yep.
So that actually gives it +2 inches of movement, and that has also been ruled on by the Infernals as accurate.
Now,
at the time of this recording, that's correct.
Yep. And now the one thing to keep in mind is that it is a cost 3, so he's using half his focus for this, but it's nice because it is an upkeep.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's nice to see that.
And if anybody's going to want something like Silas Wishnalair to upkeep a free spell,
Yep.
it's going to be somebody like Thyron.
Yeah.
Ground Zero.
Ground Zero we've seen a couple times before.
Balder has it. Balder 2.
Yep.
Makeda 3 has it.
Yep. Trying to think who else has it. It'll come to me. It's a cost 3, so again he's using half his focus for it. Its range is himself. It's an AoE 5, POW 13, and basically what it does is you send a 5-inch AoE on him. Every model under the AoE hit suffers a POW 13 damage roll. Each model damaged by Ground Zero is pushed D6 directly away from the model in an order that you get to choose.
Yeah.
So if he does end up getting surrounded, this is a nice little way to kind of kill off some stuff that's near him. If you don't manage to kill it, they're getting pushed a good distance away.
You can unjam him. You can use it kind of like a pseudo repulsion to sort of push things away. I think it's a really cool spell.
Yep.
Onslaught.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about Ground Zero here. It is a cost 3, and since it's something that only he can use on himself, I'm seeing it very much as a defensive spell if he does get clogged. I'm also seeing it really good as an offensive spell where he will charge into something, throw down a bunch of attacks to it. If he hasn't killed it, he can pop Ground Zero just to drop one more huge hit on it, and then push it a good distance away, and possibly push it away, or possibly push it closer for his other jacks or other infantry models to take a shot at. So
you can do something cute like feet, charge something, sidestep around it, Ground Zero, push it back, and then put it in range of your army to kill.
So
a little bit like the repulsion on an Angelius.
So he also, like you were saying, he does have Onslaught. It's a cost 2, ranges himself, areas control. It's upkeepable, and basically it's just friendly faction models that begin a charge in his control area gain Pathfinder.
Yeah, that's big. Like, Sentinels can now be behind walls protecting themselves and Pathfinder charge over them. You have a little bit less trouble with the rough terrain. Ret has a lot of Pathfinder, but they also have a lot of not Pathfinder, especially among the Dawn Guard. So it's worth noting. It'll also give you Pathfinder on your Warjacks, which is big, because some of the Warjacks, like not the Griffin, have no Pathfinder.
So also has Spell Piercer. Again,
this is a really good spell.
Cost 2, range himself, AoE is his control. While within this model's control area, friendly faction models and units, weapons gain magical weapon and blessed. Spell Piercer lasts for 1 round. When making an attack with a weapon with blessed, ignore spell effects that add to the model's armor or defense.
Really, really powerful. You don't ignore focus points over boosting armor, but you almost have Arcane Assassin.
Yep.
It also gives magical weapons to everything, so your Mage Hunter Strike Force can kill Blackbanes, Ghost Raiders. You can shoot Menoth Jacks.
You can kind of defend yourself a little bit from incorporeal models, like Haley.
Does only last. Oh no, lasts a round.
Yep.
There you go. So you can Spell Piercer and then not be able to have your stuff run through your army. Spell Piercer is a really, really powerful ability. So far, they only give it to a minion model, which felt pretty fair because minions don't get played a ton. This guy is gonna get some work done in his faction. I think he's really scary. Last spell on the list.
I was like, he has one more spell.
Yeah.
Storm Rager. It's cost 2, range 6, and it is an upkeep. And what it does is that target friendly faction warrior model gains +2 strength, mat, and armor, and cannot be targeted by combined ranged attacks or by combined melee attacks.
So, really simple application. If you put Storm Rager on himself, he is now, against shooting, defense 17. Against melee attacks, defense 15 with riposte, armor 18, mat 9, again, let's not forget riposte, and POW strength 15 weapon master. So at this point he's going toe-to-toe with Durst, and Durst is probably boosting to hit.
And if that is the spell that he's upkeeping and he has Spell Piercer out there, suddenly he is a force to be reckoned with. Which is nice to see.
He's this big scary dude with a sword. And in a way that Retribution hasn't had yet, and in a way that really supports the army, I think he's going to see some serious table time. Moros
Morals has been out for a while.
He's been out for a while. He's a character light for Gareth. He has a couple of the things you'd expect him to have, like stealth, field dependent, like the Shail Jacks. He's got a range 8 gun that does critical paralysis, or actually just base paralysis. His melee attacks have grievous wounds without needing a crit, and then he has +2 defense against melee attacks, making him like a 14-16.
Yep, he has duelist.
And then with Gareth, he has apparition.
So he's getting placed 2 inches during the control phase, is it?
During the control phase.
So within the control phase, he gets placed completely within 2 inches. Nice thing right there, just for getting out of melee if he's in that, or giving him like a little bit of a lineup for charges and stuff like that, which is nice to see.
2 pound 15 initials. I could see this guy being played with Thyron too.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
And again, he has special issue with Gareth, so he can be included in those theme lists.
Exactly.
All in all, cost 6 for him. Would you take him?
Yep. With a lot of casters. Maybe with Virus to have a gun, a Virus 2 to start off your synergy chains.
Yeah.
The gun won't start it, but paralyzing something will make it really easy to start your synergy chain.
Oh, absolutely.
And then Grievous to finish the synergy chain when you're playing against hordes and you want to deny transfers. Also, I'd play him with Thyron, like I just mentioned, probably with Gareth. Maybe with Kilissa, probably Raven too. So it's a pretty impressive collection of casters I'd play him with. I'd call that a win.
Yeah.
Helios.
Oh, Helios.
So when they spoiled a little bit about Helios at the TempleCon sort of Privateer Press Next Best Thing seminar, they aired a video where they talked about Helios having no damaging ranged attacks. And I felt like going into this book to be competitive, to be like a really, more than just something that you're excited to paint or to put on the table to play some fun games with, to be like a kind of powerful competitive warjack with no ranged damage component, you had to have some seriously powerful abilities to complement that and to support your army. Helios lives up to that.
I would say they delivered.
Yep.
Definitely. Start off with just the chassis stats. He's same as the
Hyperion.
Thank you.
Yep.
Speed 6, Strength 16, Mat 6, Rat 5, Defense 10, and Armor 19. Now that Defense 10 is...
We're going to come back to why that's such a big deal, but it is. A couple of pieces of defensive tech he has. First of all, immunity to fire. So that doesn't look like a huge big deal until you remember that being shot off the board by Lilith 2's Ravagors is a real concern in Retribution, and they have spent a long time fighting against Legion and Lilith 2 particularly, struggling with that matchup. So something that is just base immune to fire is a really big deal. It's a little bit of a recurring theme that there are some powerful releases that counter Legion well in this book, and I think that's a good thing in this metagame right now. I think Legion could use some answers.
Absolutely, and I am still really, really excited just to see all of the, like you said, with him not having any ranged offensiveness, giving him just the immunity to fire to make him almost like a nice little wall to defend against those attacks is a nice little icing on the cake for what he actually delivers later on.
So he has a generator field, like most of the Shail Jacks. He has field dependence. With that generator shield is crippled, he loses his Force Barrier, which is a rule he has, and also Force Gate, another rule he has. And he can't make Tractor Beam attacks because they're from the shield itself. But we'll talk about the Tractor Beam in a second.
Starting off with Force Barrier, he gains +2 defense against range attack rolls and does not suffer blast damage.
And neither of those rules seem super relevant. Def 12 Colossal versus Def 10 Colossal. It's a difference, but it doesn't rock your world necessarily. And then also immune to blast damage and armor 19. Yay. We'll get back to why that's a big deal.
Also, you have Force Gate. So during its activation, this model can spend focus to gain abilities. It gains 1 ability per focus point spent. Force Gate abilities last for 1 round. Now this is where it gets really interesting as to just how he delivers on the board.
It's also worth noting these are not like this or this or this. These are 1 per focus spent up to 3.
So the first one he gets is Broadcast Power, which is allocate 1 focus point to each friendly Myrmidon within 3 inches of this model. A Myrmidon can be allocated only 1 focus point per round as a result of Broadcast Power.
So we talked about this earlier in the review. You're not within 3 inches of yourself, just as a baseline rule in the game. So he gives a focus to everything else, but not to himself.
So which is nice to see. It's a nice way to kind of, again, make 1 focus go a little bit longer. I've been seeing a lot of this ever happen since Convergence came out, where they had the induction node. It's nice to see all these factions coming out with their own little way of kind of stretching the focus and making it do more than what it initially did. And
Retribution has some really cool, really focus-hungry jacks, so it's nice to be able to feel those a little bit better. It's also true that like just having your Arcanists be a little safer. You have Helios in the middle of the board, and you can have the jack you want to give a focus to in front of him, and you have the Arcanist behind Helios, power boost Helios, and then Helios kind of power boost that jack in front of him.
So he also has Distortion Field. So this model gains +2 defense and Poltergeist, which we did cover before. Poltergeist, if you miss with an attack, you get pushed D3 directly away from the model with Poltergeist. Now, the Distortion Field as well as Force Barrier, they stack.
Yeah, so that's +4 defense against ranged attacks.
So now you've got a huge base with defense 14, which has been unheard of before for a Colossal, just by on its own, being able to power itself up to this point.
I mean, the Archangel can go to defense 14 with Forced Evolution and Tenacity, but here's something that does not have any upkeep spells on it, that does not have any effects that are ignored by Arcane Assassin or Spell Piercer, that like Blessed won't ignore, period, that is just defense 14 against guns.
Yep.
That's really big. That means while this thing's not delivering damage at range, it's also not taking it.
Yep. And makes it really good for just sitting in a zone from a really shooty army. So this makes it a noticeable threat for your Signar armies, because now you've got this giant brick on an area that's blocking line of sight for a lot of stuff behind it, and it's actually fairly difficult to hit.
Yep.
And on top of that, if you do manage to hit it, or probably if you do manage to take a shot at it and miss, you now have the risk of Poltergeist pushing you a distance back.
Yep.
Which is nice. And then the last thing it has is the Repulsor Field. So when this model is hit by a melee attack, after the attack is resolved, the attacking model is pushed 1 inch directly away from this model. Now again, these 3 abilities all stack, so if you allocate 3 focus to it, it can have all 3 of them at one time. So it can allocate 1 focus to all the jacks around it. You can have it get itself the Distortion Field, where it's getting +2 defense as well as Poltergeist, and now you've also got it getting a 1 inch pushback from melee attacks. So things that are charging it that have those multiple attacks, that have 2 or 3 attacks, backswing, things like that, are now losing out on that second attack on Helios because they've been pushed the 1 inch out. So they're losing, if they're within the ½ inch, they're now pushed out of range. If they have reach and they didn't make the full reach distance, they're now getting pushed out of that distance as well. So it's very difficult to land multiple melee hits on this jack.
Yeah, you need to kind of walk into his threat range to really be into full threat range with him, which makes him a very defensive profile. Admittedly, at high focus investment. So you need to be playing a list that can afford to give him a bunch of focus and really make use of it. But I think if you do, he's a very, very powerful base.
Yeah, and just for good measure, he does also have Virtuoso, which makes sense when you consider what the Tractor Beam does.
Yeah, so Virtuoso is really interesting because, as we said, this guy does not have damaging ranged attack, but that does give him the ability to make his melee and his ranged attacks in the same action. So let's talk a little bit about that. So his fists are continuous fire causing. They're not fire typed, obviously, because they're giant POW fists, but they do light things on fire that they hit. They're POW strength 20, so 22 with an Arcanist concentrated fire is worth pointing out. And then they do that flame burst. So if they punch something, they do things within an inch of it. If they box it, get lit on fire, which it's a good chance they do. Which gives them a little bit of pseudo infantry clearing. And then his Tractor Beam is a range 12 gun with no damage. It has rapid shot 1, so that means
rate of fire 1.
Rate of fire 1, rapid shot 3. So that means when he makes a shot with it, he gets to instead make 3 shots if it's during his combat action. So if Assyria ancillary attacks, he still gets 1 shot, but during his normal combat action, he gets 3 shots with it, ignores rate of fire, and each of those hits do no damage, but can move the model. They push it 3 inches in one direction.
Which is nice because it's not D3, it is up to 3 inches. So you don't have to worry about rolling that gamble there where it's, okay, I need to make sure that I get him 1, 2, 3, pull him in the 9 inches if need be.
So it's worth noting if something's like an inch behind a wall, you can't just like move it an inch over and 2 inches up. You have to move it like 3 past the wall, shoot it a second time, 3 toward you, shoot it a third time, 3 toward you, then punch it twice.
Yeah.
But you can certainly do that in an activation, just like bap, 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 punch. Or like the other option for him is you can be in the zone. They can run some stuff up to get into the zone to contest, and you can just say like, go away.
Yeah, and it's again really good for the scenario play. They're not gonna. I feel like with the defense capabilities that he has, and the armor that he has, and the ability to just pretty much. I see him like a bubble where you put him on an objective and he pushes everything away from him that's going to try and shoot at him, that's going to try and melee him, and then once they're away far enough, he can either push them even further out of the zone, or he can pull them back in to say, hey, you know what, it's my turn, and start throwing melee attacks at him. I'm actually afraid to see this on the table.
He's also 17 points. which is a full point cheaper than Hyperion. Hyperion has the glitter gun, which is really cool, where he gets to RFP a bunch of models. He has some really powerful ranged attacks. He supports Raven really well. This guy feels like a new generation of Colossal. He's about something very different. He has some powerful support abilities.
He also has. Yeah, I was he also has 12 force field boxes, which is
That's
nice
true.
too.
He has a lot of boxes.
He's rocking quite a bit of stats there.
Yep.
I like him.
Yep.
I'm not a huge Retribution player, but having seen this, I might consider it.
He is a huge Retribution model.
He is. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot of him in future games, just especially for the scenario play on its own.
I agree. All right, Rec got a couple of other cool things.
No, they didn't.
The House Vire Electromancers. So this is the first Vire unit we've seen.
That sounds like you're making it up.
Vire?
Yeah, that sounds made up.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I mean, the whole game's made up, but in a really cool way. So Vire is the house that Ossian is from, so they have like artificers and really cool technology. They were the ones who sort of lost the Civil War. Gorshade's originally a House Vire character, so they've really kind of lent their energies to the Retribution as a bit of a condolence. These guys are one box models in a unit where you pay 4 points for 3 guys. So they're fragile for sure, and their defensive stats are 13-12, so they don't do much to help themselves.
No.
However, if they get there, they get some work done. They have an Inducer Bolt, which is...
First off, just kind of go over their speed and things like that to get an idea here.
Their speed 6,
Yeah.
Mat 6, Rat 6, Defense 13, Armor 12, like I said. Command 9, Immunity to Electricity. So they're doing a bit of a Stormcaller impression. They have these range 10, POW 12 Inducer Bolts, and then they have 3 attack types with it. So the first attack is called Energy Leak. It says, when a Warjack is hit with this weapon, it suffers a cumulative -1 penalty to its focus allocation limit. Models immune to disruption are immune to Energy Leak.
Which is, again, you got 3 of them there, so if all 3 of them land this hit on a Jack, it's not getting any focus next turn.
It can be allocated 0 focus, unless your allocation limit on that Jack was more than 4. For example,
like
it was bonded, or if it, you used Nemo or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not technically called disruption, so like Power Booster wouldn't remove the Energy Leak effect. So if you really just needed to, say, deny a model getting allocated any focus for some reason, you could use that ability. Lightning Generator. Model hit with this weapon, lightning arcs from that model to D3 consecutive additional models. Lightning Generator is a really powerful ability. It lets you kill a lot of things you should have no right to kill.
We've seen it before a lot.
We've seen it before in a couple of places. The Storm Shutters have it. Usually it's on something that costs more than this and doesn't get to kind of throw 3 of them out. The last ability, which I think is probably the best ability they have, is called Pulse Fire. It says when a model is hit with this weapon, it suffers D3 damage rolls instead of 1. So those are all POW 12 damage rolls, so just being able to rock D3 POW 12s, where you only need to make 1 to hit roll, is pretty attractive. Keep in mind,
both magic weapons, which is always good.
Yeah, they're magic weapons. They also have a Storm Inducer melee attack, so like they shoot bolts with their Storm Inducers, and then they can stab you with them too. They do Cortex damage on hits. That seems to be a bit of a theme in this book, is lightning Cortex damage.
Aesthetically, they look like mini Ossians.
Yeah, a little bit. They definitely got that Ossian vibe, which makes sense because he's a House Vire caster. You can snipe them.
Yeah.
Raven's Feet applies to them, which makes those pulse fires happen a little bit more reliably. They don't jump off the page at me, which means I feel like I want to give them some playtesting time, because usually Privateer Press gives releases that really have an impact on the game, and I don't understand these guys right away, which makes me curious.
I can see them being a threat on the board, and on top, aside from them just being a general target, where now that I know what they are and I see them on the board, I'm gonna try and kill them first.
That's a good rule. If you were playing against, say, Raven, and you have like an armor 14 Hordes caster, and I get to snipe these guys, move them up, and shoot you with my boosted attack rolls, I hit you once, and then I do D3 damage to you or D3 hits to you with each of these guys. Do you have enough transfers for as many as 9 POW 12s?
No, absolutely not.
It's definitely going to hurt.
Yeah. So I see that being just generally awesome in itself.
Yep.
I can see also on that same note, losing one of them, as even though they're a group of 3, losing one of them is losing a lot of power from that unit.
For sure.
So
more than a point each is interesting. We'll see. They seem kind of cool.
They kind of come off to me the same way that the Clockwork Angels did when they were first released, where they have this they're very cool, they're very neat. It looks like they can get a lot of work done. I just need to figure out how to get them to that point where they can get this work
They
done.
seem like they'll be tricky to deliver, but if you do, they're a real problem.
Yep.
I like them.
So,
Soulless Void Tracker. This guy is what I wish the Soulless Escort always did.
is it Tracker or Tracer?
Tracer. That makes more sense.
Void Tracer. Okay.
Void Tracer. He's tracing the void. Just like drawing lines around the shapes that it outlines.
Okay.
No, not what they meant.
No.
Soulless Void Tracer. This guy, what I wish Nail did. He's what I wish the Soulless Escorts did.
Yeah.
Those guys are cool, but this is like another cool Soulless part. And just more Soulless fluff is really cool. Because they're a faction, like within the Retribution faction, that doesn't really get a lot of fluff attention.
Yeah.
Fearless, Stealth, Speed 6, Strength 6, Mat 6, Rat 3, but he doesn't have a gun.
Nope.
Defense 13, Arm 13. So it does potentially the blast damage. Command 5, but good thing he's soulless.
Yeah. One health box and also only costs a point.
Yep.
Which
And
is nice.
FA2, he has a reach magical two-handed sword that's POW 12. And then he's soulless, so he doesn't generate a soul. And he can't be targeted by spells because he has Spell Ward. So that's your own spells as well as enemy spells.
Yep.
And then he has a rule called Arcane Vacuum. It says when a model in this model's command range is targeted by an enemy spell, before the spell is resolved, the enemy spellcaster takes D3 damage points.
So that could kill something before it gets its spell off.
Correct.
Which is disgusting.
Yep. His command's only 5, so he only protects a little bubble around himself, but that's pretty cool, especially because, he can protect your caster. He can protect a couple of value solos. He denies a little bit of spellcasting. He's powerful against units like Druids of Ouroboros. Prevents like you having your Jax force bolted into range of a charge from a circle heavy.
Yep.
I think he's...
I was going to say, it can also work in its own sense because you've also got the name escapes me here.
What does it do?
It has very similar to the Druids in the sense, it's Retribution in the sense that it can...
Oh, Battle Mages?
Thank you, Battle Mages.
It only specifies enemy models, so
I'm
in
saying,
a mirror match...
in a mirror match, I'm saying, it can also shut down them as well.
Enemy Battle Mages.
Yep.
Hex Hunters from Legion are a big deal.
Yep.
You could certainly do some damage to the Wither Shadow Combine. I think he's got some game for 1 point. Why not?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's Retribution. We're going to talk a little bit about Mercs. Now, we're going to glaze past some...
Are we not going to go over how we feel about Retribution as a whole?
Well, we spent like 25 minutes on Haley, so I figured we'd just speed on.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Retribution, I feel like, got a lot of good releases. A lot of people said Retribution won this book. I don't like to talk in terms of that because I think that's a bit of a misevaluation. It diminishes the exciting releases a lot of other factions got. But Retribution did very well, and I think they got some powerful releases that give them some answers they didn't have before.
If this book was a casino and all the different factions went in, I feel like Retribution won the most. Everybody won, Retribution won the most.
It was a good day at the casino for almost every Warmachine faction here. In fact, I think it's almost fair to say every Warmachine faction.
I'm excited to see how this actually changes it because there's a lot of stuff in here that I can see applying to almost all, if not all, of the casters. I can see all the models having a place in majority of the lists out there.
Yeah, if I don't see every model in this book on a table in the next year, it'll be because it got delayed in the release cycle.
Exactly.
That's something you don't get to say about every release for every game.
Yeah.
As I say, the Merc section includes a lot of the major releases of actual Cephalics, like Exelon Thexus is in this book.
Which,
the
if you watch...
Subduers here, the Wardens here, the Wreckers here, the Mindbender and Drudges are here, the Dominators here, the Agitators here. These are all models that we've already put on tables, we've already seen.
If you
Their
watched
major
Battle
release
Reports,
was last year.
You've seen me run them quite a few times.
Yeah,
they
so
are my favorite mercenary.
Quirk has played a bunch of them. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about a brand new Cephalix caster released for the first time in this book.
So excited.
Then we're going to talk about some cool actual Merc releases that are not specific to the Puppet Masters faction. And then we're going to do our kind of feelings about Reckoning. So
thank you for guiding my video.
No worries, Dave. I got your back.
I appreciate this.
Quirk has has a spotlight here where he gets to talk all about Siphon.
I love Puppet Masters. They are my bread and butter when it comes to playing. If I go to a tournament, I usually bring Puppet Masters just because I absolutely love the board control that they have.
And they have a lot of it.
I love Exelon Texas's feat. I love the Mind Bender's abilities. I love the Mind Slavers, how in the tier they get ambush. I love the Dominator just getting everything. I love the Agitator just boosting everything. And Monstrosities are just the greatest thing to me. I love them.
You know that makes you a bad person, right?
I'm over it. I don't care if that makes me a bad person. I love Cephalic stuff. It is the coolest thing to me out of all of the Warmachine stuff. It is my favorite. Then there's this guy. Right here.
Cognifex Siphon.
Oh. Okay. So if you ever watched one of my battle reports where I use Exelon Thexus, you'll notice I usually have him at the back of the table trying to support everybody and just arcing things through everybody else. Seeing this caster and seeing his stat line alone makes me want to put him almost in the middle of the board. He's speed 5, strength 6, mat 6, rat 6. That's a little creepy. Defense 13, which is okay. Armor 17. So he's already got 4 more armor than Exelon, which is nice to see. He has a spray 10 called Mind Wipe, which is POW 10. Shooting at rat 6, that's nothing to just kind of scuff at. And then he's also got his Pincer Embrace, which is POW strength 12. That's 4 points higher than Exelon Thexus' little arm mandible stuff. He is a mercenary. He will only work for Crix, which doesn't really make that big of a difference under a certain point cost because he is a warcaster on his own.
Yep.
He is selective, so he will only include mercenary contracts that have the Sexphilix as a possible member. He does get the Dominator though, so he can include pretty much anything the Dominator can take, which is all of the units that aren't ally units.
Yeah, at the time of recording, the only lists you can field him in are his personal tier list and the Puppet Master's chapter of mercenaries.
Yep, so getting that contract. He does have Pathfinder, which makes sense because he's floating around. He has a special ability called Essence Amplifier, which is when this model casts a spell and is the point of origin for the spell, you can destroy a friendly drudge in its command range. If you do, this spell gains +5 range.
It's a lot of range.
That's amazing when you see what his spells are.
Which we'll get to.
He has Sacrificial Pawn to Monstrosity, which is the same that Exelon Thexus has. Just gives him a little bit more defensive structure from shooting and stuff like that. If he does manage to get hit, you can pass it off to a Monstrosity, which they're sitting at 36 boxes, so they can take a bit of a beating before he can't do that anymore. He is steady, which is nice. He can't be knocked down. This is new. Exelon did not have this, so a usual tactic for killing Exelon was knocking him down and then hitting him because he relied on the semi-high defense. Not being able to get knocked down here is nice to see.
1 point higher than this guy.
Still, 1 point does make a difference.
It does.
His Mind Wipe is a magical weapon, and it has Silencer. Model hit by this can't cast spells for a round. Ha.
Literally wipes your mind.
Ha.
It's pretty cool.
I heard you like to arc spells. Not anymore. So, he has 6 spells, 5 of which have a range that he can actually boost up the 5 inches from killing off a drudge, so keep that in mind here. The first one he has is Affliction. It's a cost 3, range 8. Doesn't do any damage, it's an upkeep and it's offensive. Basically what it does is when a damage roll exceeds from a direct hit, when the damage roll resulting from a direct hit fails to exceed the armor of the target enemy model or unit, the affected model suffers 1 damage point.
It's a little bit like anatomical precision, but it doesn't require living or melee.
And it does it to everything in a unit. So you have one little guy sticking off at a distance, he puts Affliction on them, and now everybody can die on hit, which is awesome. It's range 8, he can boost that up to 13 if he kills off a drudge, so he does have that nice little extra distance there. Breath Stealer.
Spell's bonkers.
This is great. It's cost 2. It's range 10. It's not an upkeep, but it is offensive. It is offensive. Are you offended by it?
A little bit.
Okay. Target model or unit suffers -2 speed and defense for 1 round. Breath Stealer can only be cast once per turn. When you consider the -2 speed, that means whoever's getting hit is now not charging. They are -2 defense, so they're now a whole lot easier to hit.
They're running 4 less inches. It's a big deal.
It's great, and it only costs 2.
It really only costs 3 because you probably boost a hit with the only Breath Stealer you can cast a turn. Still though, amazing.
And again, if you kill off a drudge, it goes from range 10 to range 15.
It's once again doing a compelling crippling grasp impression.
Next is Empathetic Overload. Overload.
Empathic overload, but yeah.
Empathic overload. Fine. You know what? We're just going to keep correcting each other's reading.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not? We can't read while on camera. Are you kidding? What do you think? We are illiterate?
It's a cost 3. I'm going to just ignore that one. It's
Yep.
cost 3, range 8, AoE 4, POW 12. It's offensive. The model's hit by...
Like everything underneath empathic overload?
Thank you. Empathic overload. Suffer a POW 12 damage roll. When it targets a friendly model, it automatically hits. This is his nuke.
Yeah.
I love this. You take a drudge, you throw it right in the middle of a bunch of guys, and you fire off this AoE.
Folks who played the Mindbenders before will be familiar with this tactic.
Shush you. I like it also because it does automatically hit, so even though the model getting hit, if it's a drudge, can pull off a tough. And then on top of that, if, for example, not everything died from that explosion and it was a Mindbender, you can then blow up that Mindbender that just made the tough roll.
Yep. Seems good.
I like it. Also has Gallows. Gallows
Actually,
is...
I'm not sure that's true.
Why not?
Because you can't channel through a model that's knocked down.
It's not a channel.
It doesn't say channel.
Oh, it does. Yes,
Okay.
you're right. Can't do that.
Anyway, good thought. You can definitely...
You can
do some silly stuff
with it. Yeah.
Yep. You can always empathically overload the knockdown model again.
Oh, well, here's the thing. Yeah, never mind. There's other ways to do it.
Yep.
There's other ways to do it. Not
The
the
unit
point.
can activate that model can... Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Gallows, which is a very common spell among a lot of casters here. Cost 3, range 10, can be 15. It's a POW 13. It's offensive. And when a model is hit by this attack, it can be pushed D6 directly towards its point of origin.
So you can pull things in, which will help you
Yeah.
charge it with your monstrosities.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, there's Onslaught.
Yeah, Onslaught's a really good spell. Turns out Pathfinder in a faction that has Eyeless Sight is really good. Like, the Drudges, they have Eyeless Sight, and you're like, oh, that rule's cute. Great, you have the ability to see through the forests that you can only get 2.5 inches into.
Now you
On a
pop-
charge you can get 4 inches, you're still not going to get to your charge target. And you're like, no, we're going to go 8 inches. We have an 8.5 inch threat, and we can charge from behind this forest now.
Yep. Basically, it does exactly what Tim just said there. Friendly faction models beginning a charge in the smallest control area gain Pathfinder during that charge. Awesome.
Seems good.
And lastly, his one spell here, Perseverance. Target friendly faction model / unit gain +2 armor, cannot be pushed, and cannot be moved by slam or throw.
A little bit like Fortify, but instead of specifying a battle group warjack, it specifies a unit, which is really cool. That's a powerful ability.
Especially when you consider that Drudges are already sitting at armor 15. This bumps them up to armor 17. So they can definitely make a nice little wall there. And his feet. Oh, his feet. Monstrosities in his battle group are currently in his control area gain +3 speed, strength, and armor for 1 round. Those that do suffer 1 damage to each column of their damage grids at the end of their activation this turn. So a Wrecker, who is normally speed 5, goes up to speed 8.
Seems good.
Who is normally POW 17, goes up to POW 20.
22 with an agitator.
22 with an agitator. And goes from armor 17 up to armor 20 for a turn.
Came in like a wrecker ball.
So, normally, if you guys see me play, I like to run a lot of Drudges. This caster is going to have me running a lot of Monstrosities. I am looking forward to when he comes out. I cannot wait for it. I want to run this caster.
He's on a medium base.
He is on a medium base.
And he has 7 focus.
And 6 warjack points.
Unlike he goes down a focus from Thexus, who was 8, which is crazy, but he's still like a high focus magic using caster with the tools to pull off these spells.
Oh, absolutely. So, again, I'm looking very forward to seeing this model. And again, the model looks really cool. So,
looks like a giant evil centipede.
well, the first one looked like a giant evil spider. So, just keeping up with everything.
Seems appropriate.
So, again, guys, you've seen me run through and use pretty much everything in this book here. We've got Excellent Thexus, the Subduer, the Warden, the Wrecker, the Mindbenders, the Mindslavers. This has all been out for a while now. None of it is really new. It's just that with this book, they decided to release it out into a paper.
This is their first imprint,
This is a paper format of everything so that people who don't have access to the Privateer Press app on their phones or on their iPad and didn't want to possibly spend the however much it was for the book, all the information is available here for it now. So it's nice that they were able to do that, and it gives everybody access to that information.
All right, let's talk about the coolest release in this book.
I am so happy about these little pinballs.
The Swamp Gobber River Raiders.
The Mercenary Minion Privateer Sea Dog Solo. Mine was a bigger mouthful than yours.
Huh. They're solos.
Yeah.
I was thinking about them like a unit.
No, they are
That's
solos.
actually really cool.
I like them.
that makes them better.
Okay. The Raiders, they're speed 6, they're strength 3, mat and rat 5, defense 14, and armor 12. They have, since they are mercenaries, they can work with Circle, Scorn, and the Blindwater Congregation Pact. It doesn't show them having anything here from anything in mercenaries except for Cricks.
Yeah.
So they are exclusive to the Cricks for Warmachine.
Because they work for Cricks, they also work for the 4-star Syndicate, who takes anything that will work for Cricks or Kador. And because they're Sea Dogs, they also work for the Italian Charter, which will take anything that says Privateer.
Yeah.
Because they're Sea Dogs solos, they get Weapon Master against living enemy models with their hand weapon attacks if they're in command range of First Mate Hawk.
Yep. They're pirates. And they look like pirates.
They look like little gobber pirates.
Adorable little pirates.
You get 3
like
of them
their
for
gun.
2 points.
Yep. They are field allowance 3, so for 6 points you can get 9 of them, which is pretty sweet. That's almost a unit.
Welcome to Incursion. 9 solos on the plane.
They have a harpoon pistol. It's range 6, rate of fire 1, POW 10. It has reel in.
Such a cool.
I love this.
This is the opposite of drag. They hit you with their gun and they get sucked toward you.
So, if this weapon hits a non-incorporeal enemy model, this model can be placed base to base with that enemy model.
So drag requires you to push the model toward you and it stops if it contacts a thing. These guys fly over everything and get sucked right next to you, and regardless if there's a wall in the way, they could just go around it.
Yeah, as per the wording, it says the model can be placed in base to base, so it's not pulled, pushed, whatever, it's a place.
Yeah, and it's not like directly, so you can use it to place like behind them or something cute like that.
They also have a hand weapon that's POW plus strength 6. Nice thing about them is they do have Virtuoso, so they can pull off both in the same activation.
Yeah, they can get reeled in and then they can attack you with their hand weapon.
Their hand weapon also has weaken, so living models hit by this weapon suffer -2 strength and defense for 1 round. Defensive-wise, they do have camouflage, so you're getting that +2 defense when they're benefiting from concealment or cover.
Base defense 14 goes to 18 in the woods, 20 behind cover.
Can't complain with that.
Yeah.
And they do have advanced deployment, so I'm honestly, looking at this, I was a little bit excited thinking they might have Assault.
Virtuoso is similar.
When they didn't have Assault, I was a little bit disappointed, but I'm still really excited to see them charge into something, hit it with a melee attack, then shoot somewhere else and place themselves over there. That'd be really neat to see.
Yeah, reeled in does specify incorporeal model, so you can't use it in like a really creepy sprint.
No.
But you can sure use it to like charge something and dig deeper into the enemy line.
Yeah.
You can also, obviously, the ideal use of it is you walk forward, shoot something, reel away, and then weaken it.
Yeah. So I do like them very much.
The Devil's Shadow Mutineers, they've been out for a little while.
I do think we should cover them just because they haven't been out for very long. Again, this is the first time they've been released in print.
They're Sea Dogs, so the same things I said before. They'll work for 4-star and Italian Charter. They work for Cricks.
Yep, they are contracted with Cricks, which is nice to see. You've got Mar, Moreland, and Zyra, who, all in all, are pretty cool.
Mar is insane. Moreland is pretty sweet. Zyra is the reason you take the unit.
Yeah. They all have a special ability called Bloodbound, where when this model is destroyed by a living enemy model, when this model destroys a living enemy model with an attack, after the attack resolved, you can return one of the destroyed models in this unit to play. The model returns with 5 damage boxes, must be placed within 3 inches of this model, and cannot activate the turn it returns to play. The destroyed model is removed from play, but does not provide a soul or corpse token.
So they can kill other people to bring members of their unit back.
Yep.
It doesn't specify melee attack, so they can do it with their pistols as well as their cutlass or saber. And then they're really, really powerful.
Yep.
Their main defensive tech is defense 14 plus the ability to bring each other back.
Yep.
And then Mar is the
swordsmith. The swords.
She's the like crazy looking lady in a dress. It's got a wild look in her eyes. She has a saber, and then she has swashbuckler, so she attacks everything in her 0.5 inch melee range when she makes an attack.
And it is
she gets
within
360. Yep.
So.
And then Moreland has a pistol at rat only 5. Rat only 4. And then he has a mat 7 cutlass, actually 2 of them.
Yep.
And he can choose to combo that attack. His combo strike makes it POW strength 15, or he has 2 POW 11 options. And then Zura, the thing that you really bring for the money, she has rat 7, eyeless sight, gunfighter, pistols. Her pistols are both Weapon Master POW 10.
And they also come with Black Penny.
Black Penny. So she ignores the firing to melee penalty, she ignores stealth, she ignores forests, she ignores concealment.
So she's the shooter, and the other two seem to...
These guys have a bunch of synergy.
Yeah.
Like you can take Rock Bottom, and you can give them Tough.
Yep.
You can also give them Money Shot, which is +2 rat, +2 damage, which sends Zara up to rat 9, Black Penny, ignoring stealth, POW strength 12, Weapon Master on 2 shots, which seems really good.
One thing that I thought of when I was just looking at them really quick is taking them with a Dominator in the Syphilis list, because you can do that. Gives them advanced deployment, and also gives them Tough.
Tough helps.
So nice to see that there.
They appreciate it.
Not bad. 3 pretty tough guys to take out for 4 points.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Yep. The Hammerfall Siege Crawler.
I want to paint this up like a Tonka truck.
Mercenary release in this book. It is the Rulik battle engine. So it feels like...
Currently the only battle engine to be released for mercenaries.
Well, it's not released yet, but the only battle engine even announced for mercenaries.
Yep.
This guy's really cool. It feels like with this, they stopped saying, okay, remember all those cute Rulik releases we gave you early on with Speed 4 that didn't get into zones where you wanted to put the Searforge contract?
Yep.
This is more in line with the Earthbreaker. It's a powerful release. It's something you're going to want to put into armies.
It is a mercenary, and so it will work with Signar and Khador.
Which means you can play it in Highborn Covenant, you can play it in 4-Star Syndicate, obviously you can play it in Searforge because it's a Rulik battle engine. It has the Construct rule, and it has 22 boxes, so it's as tough as a Storm Strider.
Yeah, nice to see.
Over the Storm Strider, it is armor 20, which helps
Defense 9, so it is, which makes sense considering it is Rulik, considering it is sitting on a huge base there.
Speed 5, though, which is, as I say, an upgrade from Speed 4, which is what I was expecting.
So I do like that.
Matt Rack 6.
Matt Rack 6, yeah. It does have the quad gun.
Yeah. So the quad gun has...
range 10, rate of fire 1, and POW 12, but it has auto fire D3 plus 1.
Yep.
So it makes D3 plus 1 range attacks targeting a primary target and any number of secondary targets within 2 inches of the first target. Ignoring intervening models when declaring the secondary target, a secondary target cannot be targeted by more attacks than the primary. It counts as attack with 1 rate of fire.
Yep.
It has 2 siege breakers. They are range 12, rate of fire 1, AoE 4, POW 15s.
Which is really respectable.
Considering it's also a weapon platform? Yeah.
Yeah. And they have critical stagger.
Yep, so on a critical hit, the model loses its initial attacks and cannot make special attacks for 1 round.
Which is pretty powerful denial, especially keeping in mind that if you crit on a model and AoE 4 clips a couple of other models, that's
Everything.
a big deal. Yep.
It does come with bulldoze, which makes sense.
Really powerful scenario piece. I'm imagining this with Ostrom, who gives +2 speed and armor to Rulik models for a turn, making this arm 22, speed 7 with bulldoze. It walks in, pushes some stuff out of his own, holds it really respectably on its own, and then just shoots some things. Maybe gets a crit stagger to deny something.
Yeah, absolutely. And bulldoze, just for those of you who don't know, when this model advances into base-to-base contact with an enemy model, during its activation, it can push that model, keyword here, it can push that model up to 2 inches directly away. A model can only be pushed once by bulldoze, and it has no effect if it decides to make a trample power attack.
This is also a weird rule because you push them during movement. If you're an inch away from something, you can charge it, move your inch, push them 2, complete your charge, and have moved 3 inches, which is weird, to say the least.
So it's nice to see that. Again, it is a weapon platform, so it does have the bash and things like that.
Its bash is POW 15, so it has a POW 15 charge attack in the same activation. It can use those guns.
Yep. That's pretty much it for all of its special rules. There's a lot of synergies and stuff in it here.
Girded.
Oh, yep, it is girded.
And models base to base that get immune to blast.
Yep. So that's nice to have there, especially if you're taking Mad Hammer, you don't want to hit yourself.
Yep. Solid play. Definitely don't blow up your own press gangers. It's kind of cool because if you primed a unit, the blast damage is actually POW 14. So you could actually have this thing like surrounded by a ring of press gangers and then have another ring of press gangers in front of it.
Yep.
They charge your press gangers, and that POW 14 is all considered blast damage.
Yep.
So the press gangers behind the first row would not blow up to the ones in front of them who are primed.
Very nice.
Which is techie, I'd say.
I like it. I can dig it. They are field allowance 2, which is fairly common for battle engines there.
It's pretty typical.
Point cost 9, again, fairly common there. Usually they're looking at around the 9-10 point mark.
Yep.
So nice to see that.
Gorton could run 2 Earthbreakers and 2 Siege Crawlers.
So yes, he could.
It would be really
And
fun.
that is it, guys. From here on out, we get into the model gallery, and we get into painting tips and things like that. And then we get into the second portion of the actual lore story, Deeper Obligations Part 2.
Lori, if you will.
All in all, I'm really excited for this book. I like everything that's been released with it. I'm looking forward to seeing these models on the table. Looking forward to getting my hands on a couple of these models just for painting purposes. They are gorgeous.
If enough of you have questions, we might do a follow-up video.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
post them in the comments below if you're so inclined, YouTube or on the MiniWarGaming channel.
Yep. If you do see this on YouTube, and you want to get into conversations, be sure to check out MiniWarGaming.com. We'll have conversations there as well. Don't forget to check out the forum. Also, guys, let us know what you think of the book. If there's certain models out there that you're really excited for, any synergies that you've seen coming out, that you know what, I'm really excited for this to come out because I want to pair it up with this caster. I want to pair this caster up with these jacks or this model. Or I've been waiting forever for Haley 3 to come out. Let us know.
We also often have some access, I certainly do as somebody who attends a lot of conventions, have access to some early releases for models. If there's a specific caster from the Reckoning book that you'd really like to see a battle report, let us know and we'll do our best to make sure that it happens for you.
Absolutely. We're looking to try and get a Haley 3 battle report in at some point soon.
She's on the painting table right now.
Coming out, guys.
Yep.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for coming in. Be sure to check out Tim's podcast.
Arcane Assist.
Where can we find it?
Facebook.com/ArcaneAssist or museonminis.com/arcane-assist.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, guys. Happy wargaming.
Do you want to mention the vault? Plug the vault.
I could plug the vault.
You should. If you guys enjoy this content and other content like it, we'll be producing even better videos. We may do like a Warmachine dojo where we talk about some lists from Reckoning, those cool things, and we put that in the vault for access. So if you're excited about it, check out the vault membership below.
Vault membership, guys, there is a link below to check it out. If you're not already a Vault member, go ahead and click that link anyway. You will be privy to a 7-day free trial where you can go ahead and check out any future videos. You also check out Chris's quick tips painting videos. You can also see all the other stuff behind the scenes, like our open vault where we talk and you see pretty much everything that's happening behind the scenes of the MiniWarGaming videos. You also get access to all of the other battle reports if you're interested in Warmachine, Warhammer, Warhammer 40k, or Infinity. You can also get access to all the vault content, including with that. Otherwise, guys, thanks so much for joining, and happy wargaming again.